The fury of the leaders of the top 3 guilds was not something to be taken lightly. They sent players to search in every accessible area to look for Ling Tian. It was a pity that Ling Chen was at a place where they had no right to enter, because he was farming LV-48 monsters. After 5 days of hard work, Ling Chen's LV-39 EXP bar was almost full. When it rose to 99.99%, Ling Chen stopped farming and quickly rushed to a safe region. When he reached LV-40, so would Xiao Hui and Ling Er. When Xiao Hui reached LV-40, his Holy Spirit's gift would be upgraded, and all of Ling Chen's skills would have their level increased by 1. As such, before he leveled up, Ling Chen wanted to make sure that he spent as much of his SP as possible. After all, his skills would cost much more to level up after they are affected by Xiao Hui's Holy Spirit's gift. After farming for more than a month and receiving the SP from killing a LV-40 Celestial Grade boss, Ling Chen had 12,350 SP. He looked through his skills and decided to spend his SP on the Heaven Wind technique and Item Manipulation technique, 2 of his most useful skills. Ding, your skill, Heaven Wind technique, has leveled up to LV-7, your skill, Item Manipulation technique, has leveled up to LV-6. Heaven Wind technique, current level, LV-7, highest level, LV-10. SP to upgrade to LV-8, 8500 SP, Ancient Battle technique, after practice, it can greatly increase the ability to control any weapon. Effect, when using any weapon, damage dealt is increased by 35%. Effect does not stack with other weapon proficiency skills. Item Manipulation technique, current level, LV-6, highest level, LV-10. SP to upgrade to LV-7, 6600. Ancient Battle technique, after practice, equipment that surpasses your current level can be equipped. Effect, ignores any piece of equipment's level requirement by 6 levels. After leveling up these 2 skills, he barely had any SP left. Ling Chen once again rushed into the crowds of monsters, swinging his Twilight Spear and Great Ravager around and insta-killed a group of giant ants that had just spawned. With his incredibly high attack power, he could effortlessly kill normal LV-48 monsters. Soon, a long-awaited system announcement sounded out in his ears. Ding, congratulations, you have leveled up to LV-40. HP plus 20, MP plus 20, Strength plus 5, Agility plus 1, Spirit plus 1. Ding, your pet Holy Spirit beast, Xiao Hui, has leveled up to LV-40. HP plus 200, MP plus 5, Defense plus 20. Holy Spirit's aura, has leveled up to LV-9, Holy Spirit's shield, has leveled up to LV-3, Holy Spirit's gift, has leveled up to LV-3. Ding, your pet Ling Er has leveled up to LV-40. MP plus 100, Magic Attack Power plus 20, Defense plus 10. Darkness Spike, has leveled up to LV-5, Darkness Lock, has leveled up to LV-5, Underworld Lock, has leveled up to LV-5. Ding, your pet Ling Er's favorability towards you plus 1. Ding, you have unlocked a new Feng Chen Murdering Heart Curse, Utter Despair Curse. Ding, because of your pet Holy Spirit beast, Xiao Hui's skill, Holy Spirit's gift, your skill, Heaven Wine technique has leveled up to LV-8, Item Manipulation technique, has leveled up to LV-7, War God technique, has leveled up to LV-7, Battle Soul Possession, has leveled up to LV-4, Feng Chen technique, has leveled up to LV-7, Broken Shadow, has leveled up to LV-4, Vanishing Shadow, has leveled up to LV-4, Soul Demise, has leveled up to LV-4, Lucky Hand, has leveled up to LV-5. Ding, your skill, Lucky Hand, is now max level and your comprehension is higher than 10. You have unlocked the evolved skill, True Lucky Hand. Ding, because of your pet Holy Spirit beast, Xiao Hui's, Holy Spirit's gift, your skill, True Lucky Hand, has leveled up to LV-4. The final system announcement caused Ling Chen's eyes to light up. He had stayed in the East Ocean continent for so long just for this moment. With Lucky Hand reaching max level, not only could he steal even more money with it, he had also unlocked True Lucky Hand, which allowed him to steal items. With Xiao Hui's Holy Spirit's gift, the newly evolved True Lucky Hand instantly reached LV4. Ling Chen immediately called out Xiao Hui and Ling Er, and opened his stats page, excitedly looking through all of their skills. Holy Spirit Beast, Xiao Hui type, Beast Pet, level, LV40, grade, Celestial, owner, Ling Tian. Stats, HP, 10,000, MP, 250, Physical Attack Power, 1, Magic Attack Power, 1, Physical Defense, 1000, Hit, 1, Evasion, 1, Critical Chance, 50%, Pierce Chance, 50%, Movement Speed, 300. Skills, Soul Devour, cannot be leveled up, Holy Spirit's Eye, LV3. Holy Spirit's Aura, current level, LV9, highest level, LV20, level required to upgrade to LV10, LV45, using its Holy Spirit aura that is void of evil and impurity to seek the protection of Mother Nature, upgrades the innate gifts of itself and all companions. Effect, Luck +9 and Comprehension +9 of itself along with the Master and all pet companions. Effect exists even while not summoned. Holy Spirit's Shield, current level, LV3, highest level, LV5, level required to upgrade to LV4, LV60. An invisible shield that is always protecting the surroundings of the Holy Spirit Beast's body, can forcibly decrease all damage received by 50%. When HP is higher than 50%, will not die after receiving a lethal blow and HP will be reserved at 1. HP recovers 5% every second, after death can directly revive on the spot, HP will recover to max, will not have any losses, can revive 3 times a day. Holy Spirit's Gift, current level, LV3, highest level, LV5, level required to upgrade to LV4, LV60. Uses Holy Spirit Force to bless the Master, increasing the level of all of her skills. Effect, level of all skills of Master +3, ineffective towards skills that are already max level, directly takes effect towards new skills that appear later. Effect exists even while not summoned. Although Xiao Hui had not awakened any new skills when he reached LV40, his incredibly powerful defensive skills had leveled up, and 2 of his support skills had also leveled up. Every time Holy Spirit's gift leveled up, Ling Chen's overall power skyrocketed. Ling Er, type, humanoid pet, level, LV40, grade, none, owner, Ling Tian. Relationship with Master, a connection created by a soul sacrifice contract, which cannot be terminated. Does not need to obey her owner's commands, and the damage taken by her will be transferred to her owner. Her level will always be equivalent to her owner's, and will live and die with her owner. Favorability to owner, 23, closeness, stats, HP, MP, 5000, physical attack power, 1, magic attack power, 1000, defense, 500, critical chance, 0, pierce chance, 0, movement speed, 110. Resistances, water, 40%, fire, 40%, wind, 40%, lightning, 40%, earth, 40%, light, -50%, darkness, 100%. Passive ability, illusory body, ignores all physical attacks and darkness attacks. Immune to all abnormal statuses and stat debuffs. Can float up to 100 meters high. Skills, Summon Undead, LV1, Sin Luck, LV2, Doll Grenade, cannot be leveled up. Darkness Spike, current level, LV5, max level. A darkness element attack that uses darkness elemental energy to create a darkness spike within 30 meters around the caster. Silently and stealthily pierces towards a target within 5 meters of where the darkness spike was formed. Base attack damage is magic attack power x 300%. Upon being hit, the target has a 5% chance of instant death. Costs 30 MP, no cooldown. Darkness Lock, current level, LV5, max level. Uses darkness energy to bind all targets within 30 meters of the caster, creating illusory chains that adds debuffs to the targets. Once bound, the target's movement speed, attack speed, jumping ability, hit, evasion are all decreased by 30% for 30 seconds. Costs 50 MP, cooldown time, 60 seconds. Underworld Lock, current level, LV5, max level. Uses darkness energy to bind all targets within 30 meters of the caster, creating illusory chains that adds debuffs to the targets. Once bound, the targets cannot use active skills for 20 seconds. Costs 120 MP, cooldown time, 60 seconds. 3 of Ling Er's skills had reached max level, but overall her strength had not increased by much. LV40 was just a normal milestone, but when Xiao Hui, Ling Er and Ling Chen himself reached LV50, they would all become far more powerful. Finally, Ling Chen happily looked at his leveled-up skills, as well as his new skill, Soul Demise, current level, LV4, highest level, LV30, SP required to upgrade to LV5, 150,000. A skill that can destroy souls created from one's powerful spirit as the foundation and support. Using Soul Demise will directly attack the target's soul. Single target attack can be activated using both hands or through any weapon. An unseen force attacks the target's soul, ignoring level, grade, defense, absolute defense, and takes away 4% of the target's HP in MP. This attack has absolute hit, and has a 0.4% chance to instant killing the target, ignoring level, grade and instant death resistance. Costs 1 MP, can only be used 3 times per day. Cannot be used on the same target within 12 hours. Lucky Hand, current level, LV5, max level. Has evolved into True Lucky Hand. A godly skill that comes from the treasure creature Lucky Cat. This skill allows the user to use an unseen hand to steal away the target's money without the target noticing. Within range, the user can steal all of the target's money. The success rate is affected by the target's level, grade and luck. Base success rate for stealing is, luck x 10%. Being able to steal without being detected is also affected by the target's level, grade and luck. Base success rate for not being detected is, luck x 10%. Consumes 10 MP, cooldown time, 3 seconds. True Lucky Hand, current level, LV4, highest level, LV5, SP to upgrade to LV5, 3,800,000. The evolved version of Lucky Hand, a godly skill that comes from the treasure creature Lucky Cat. Anyone who obtains this skill will receive world-dominating theft skills that will cause people to shudder at the sound of their name. Upon use, the user can use an unseen hand to steal any item from the target. Legends say that a pinnacle True Lucky Hand can instantly steal everything a target has. However, it is said that training to the pinnacle is as difficult as reaching the heavens, and even the Lucky Cat has not been able to unleash such power. Within range, the user can steal up to 4 items of their choice from the target. The success rate is affected by the target's level, grade and luck. Base success rate for stealing is, luck x 4%. Success rate is increased by 30% for an item that is known. Being able to steal without being detected is also affected by the target's level, grade and luck. Base success rate for not being detected is, luck x 4%. Consumes 20 MP, cooldown time, 5 seconds. After looking at the description of True Lucky Hand, Ling Chen's eyes completely lit up. It was slightly different to the Lucky Cat's True Lucky Hand, but it was essentially the same. He could steal any item from his target, that's right, any. Gold, equipment, items, even things that were currently equipped. As long as it was on their body, he could steal it with True Lucky Hand. In fact, it was more like snatching any item, in that case, even clothes. Ling Chen grinned until his eyes disappeared. True Lucky Hand's effects were simply too astounding. Although its success rate was lower than Lucky Hand's, with Ling Chen's ridiculously high luck, the LV4, True Lucky Hand, still had a 96% chance of succeeding and not being detected. If he used it on another player, he would pretty much succeed every time without being detected. Luckily his luck was not the same as that of a normal player, otherwise the success rate would be quite pitiful. If it really could allow him to steal clothes that were being worn, as well as underwear, couldn't he just suddenly strip someone in public? Could the system really allow such a savage thing? Ling Chen returned to the giant ant territory and used True Lucky Hand on a giant ant that had just spawned. After all, True Lucky Hand didn't have to be used on a human. Ding, the giant bone-eating ant does not have anything that can be stolen. His first True Lucky Hand had succeeded, but it was a pity that his target had nothing. Ling Chen could only give up and go back to the safe region to look at his leveled-up skills. Heaven Wind Technique, current level, LV8, highest level, LV10. SP to upgrade to LV9, 10,500. Ancient Battle Technique, after practice it can greatly increase the ability to control any weapon. Effect, when using any weapon, damage dealt is increased by 40%. Effect does not stack with other weapon proficiency skills. Item Manipulation Technique, current level, LV7, highest level, LV10. SP to upgrade to LV8, 8,500. Ancient Battle Technique, after practice equipment that surpasses your current level can be equipped. Effect, ignores any piece of equipment's level requirement by 7 levels. War God Technique, current level, LV7, highest level, LV10, SP required to upgrade to LV8, 10,500. Powerful battle technique originating from War God's soul force, after practice it can greatly increase personal attack strength permanently. Effect, strength increases by 7*X points, physical attack damage increased by 17*X, X equals current level. Battle Soul Possession, current level, LV4, highest level, LV5, SP required to upgrade to LV5, 7,000. Ignites the battle soul, releasing all of your strength, causing your next attack to possess the most extreme destructive power. Effect, damage plus 100% for next attack, absolute critical hit, and absolute pierce hit, for the next attack, as well as 10% chance of instant death. MP consumption, 80, cooldown time, 30 seconds. Feng Chen Technique, current level, LV7, highest level, LV10, SP required to upgrade to LV8, 8,500. A technique unique to the Feng Chen sect. After cultivating, the user's body will become incredibly light and nimble, as if they are riding on a gentle breeze. It is said that when cultivated to the peak, the user can use the winds to walk in the sky and even falling from a cliff will not hurt them at all. Effects, movement speed plus 70, evasion plus 70%, can decrease falling speed by up to 70%, can be controlled. Broken Shadow, current level, LV4, highest level, LV5, SP required to upgrade to LV5, 19,000. One of the Feng Chen sect's ultimate escaping techniques. After activating, the user's body becomes like an illusory shadow, and will be almost impossible to stop or capture. Effects, movement speed plus 900%, evasion plus 900%, effects last for 25 seconds. Can be used 4 times per day. Vanishing Shadow, current level, LV4, highest level, LV5. SP to upgrade to LV5, 19,000. One of the most advanced concealment techniques of the Feng Chen sect. After casting, the user's body disappears without even a trace, and even Ghost God wouldn't be able to discover him or her. Effects, conceals the user's body. While concealed, the user cannot attack or counterattack. The concealment is cancelled upon receiving damage. Lasts for 25 seconds, cooldown time, 100 seconds. Utter Despair Curse, low-level Feng Chen Curse, can't be leveled up. Can be used on a target within the user's line of sight, and once hit, the victim will be filled with gloom and despair. They will lose all joy and hope, and will not be able to find a reason to continue to live. The success rate is dependent on the difference in strength between the user and target's mental energy. The number of seconds the effect lasts for is equivalent to the user's comprehension stat. Costs 10 MP, cooldown time, 100 seconds. These powerful skills had all become even more powerful as a result of Xiao Hui's level up. This was especially so for the Heaven Wind technique, which had been increased by 2 levels to LV8. It now increased his damage by 40%. His 2 godly escape skills, Broken Shadow and Vanishing Shadow, had their durations increased by 5 seconds. For these 2 incredibly broken skills, 5 seconds was quite a long time. A new Feng Chen curse had also been unlocked, which caused them to utterly lose hope in life. With True Lucky Hand unlocked, Ling Chen did not have any reason to continue to farm. He had stayed in the East Ocean continent for almost 2 months now, and he no longer wanted to remain there. He took out a spatial orb and set his destination to the Celestial Cherry Valley Central District. Long time no see, Cherry Blossom God Representative. Ling Chen shattered the spatial orb, and his surroundings quickly changed to the scenery of the Celestial Cherry Valley. He hadn't come here in almost a month, but nothing had changed. Ling Chen had arrogantly chosen a very conspicuous place to appear, right in front of the door of the Cherry Blossom God Representative's residence. His actions were even more arrogant. He directly yelled out, "Girlie, your granddaddy's back. Hurry up and welcome him." Although Ling Chen acted in such a cocky manner, inwardly he wasn't as calm as he seemed. He had deliberately chosen to appear at this place, about 50 meters away from the Cherry Blossom God Representative. Currently, Moon Shadow had a range of 40 meters, while Moon Flare and Moon Grief had an area of 80 meters. If she was outside of this range and used long-range attacks, all he could do was run. With how powerful the Cherry Blossom God Representative was, attacking someone 80 meters away would be a piece of cake. However, while she was within range, as soon as she acted, Ling Chen could immediately use Moon Grief to turn her into an ordinary person. Even if he couldn't react in time, the Evil God's Mask could stop a single attack from her. With the Evil God's Mask, the Cherry Blossom God Representative wouldn't carelessly attack him. Just as Ling Chen shouted out, a white figure flashed and a beautiful woman appeared 10 steps away from him, glaring at him coldly. Her cherry blossom-colored dress fluttered with the skirt rippling, making her look like a celestial beauty. She looked incredibly pure and elegant, unpolluted by the mortal world. To be honest, Ling Chen missed her a bit after not seeing her for more than a month. After all, no man could forget such a beautiful woman. Ling Chen grinned and greeted her, "We meet again, girlie. Did you miss me after such a long time?" The Cherry Blossom God Representative's expression remained calm, and the only reaction from her was her eyebrows slightly moving. "You came again." Ling Chen continued to smile as he replied, "Any man would like a beauty like you. After not being able to see you for such a long time, I've been unable to sleep or eat because of how much I missed you. I finally finished doing what I needed to do, so I quickly came to see you." Hearing Ling Chen's mocking words, the Cherry Blossom God Representative's expression did not change at all. Over this period of time, she had cleared up her emotions and wiped away the shadow he had left in her. She would no longer be disturbed by his human. She calmly replied, "You have the Evil God's Mask protecting you, and it's almost impossible to harm you. You're the Feng Chen sect's successor and possess the Feng Chen sect's escaping abilities. Although I'm a moon god representative, I have to admit that if you wanted to escape, I could not stop you. There's simply nothing I can do to you. However, The cherry blossom god representative paused and her aura became incredibly icy. In the end, you're just a player, and I cannot request for help from her ladyship. You've continuously harassed me and tried to steal away this orb that her ladyship said I could never allow to leave me, making it unbearable for me. Shoo. Ling Chen uncourteously cut her off. He could already guess what she was going to say. He wagged his index finger, smiling as he said, "Pretty girlie, do you know what I fear the least? It's threats. The number of times I've been threatened is more than the number of hairs you have down there. However, I hate being threatened. In fact, whenever I'm threatened, I get excited. Something that's much more effective against me is seduction. A little player like me would definitely not be able to resist the seduction of the cherry blossom god representative." Just as the cherry blossom god representative started to move, Ling Chen's eyes flashed and he activated Moon Shadow, fixing her in place. He looked calm, but the cherry blossom god representative's words sounded quite ominous. A lot could happen in a month. It was possible that she had found a method to defeat him in that time. As such, he didn't give her any opportunities to try anything, and instantly used Moon Shadow to freeze her. He rushed forwards and cast a true lucky hand, as he grabbed towards the orb hanging in between her chest. Ding! Your true lucky hand has failed and has been detected by the target. Ding! The Libra orb's effects have been activated. True lucky hand's cooldown time has been reset. Freezing, rushing up and stealing. He had done all of this in a split second so that the cherry blossom god representative wouldn't have time to react. He knew that there was too great of a difference in power between the cherry blossom god representative and himself, so it was difficult for the true lucky hand to work on her. When she was frozen by Moon Shadow, that was when she should have been in a state of panic and complete defenselessness, and yet, true lucky hand had failed. Ling Chen's face darkened and the motionless cherry blossom god representative's eyes filled with shock. Ding! Your true lucky hand has failed and has been detected by the target. Ling Chen, although he expected this, Ling Chen felt quite depressed after seeing the skill fail twice in a row. Moon Shadow, which only lasted for a short 5 seconds, and was about to expire, so Ling Chen retreated, thinking of other methods. The cherry blossom god representative regained her freedom and still looked completely flabbergasted. She quickly retreated, saying in a low voice, "You actually used a ghost-level theft skill, no? That theft skill surpassed the ghost level. I never knew your Fengchen sect had such despicable skills. It's a pity that no matter how powerful your skills are, you're simply too weak. No matter how powerful your theft skill is, it's useless on me." Ling Chen shrugged, indifferently saying, "Think what you want. If it doesn't work the first time, I'll try 10, if not hundreds of times. I say, girlie, just be good and give that orb to me. Otherwise, I'll really come every day. Neither of us want that, right?" The cherry blossom god representative responded with a cold glare. True lucky hand had failed twice, and the cherry blossom god representative was now fully prepared. It was impossible for it to work on her now. Ling Chen threw out a moon grief to prevent her from chasing after him, then activated Broken Shadow and ran off. Ling Chen returned to an isolated region near the Sunrise City and sat against a tree while grabbing at his hair. He had worked hard for a month and had finally leveled up Lucky Hand to LV5, which evolved into True Lucky Hand. The only way to obtain the orb was to steal it with True Lucky Hand, but he found that he had been too naive. There was nothing the cherry blossom god representative could do about his harassment, but her strength was the real deal. Under normal circumstances, the chances of a player successfully stealing something from her was the same as Mars crashing into the Earth. Then what about abnormal circumstances? Ling Chen stood up. If he wanted True Lucky Hand to work on the cherry blossom god representative, he needed her to be in an abnormal state. It needed to be to a point where her mental defenses were incredibly low, or when they were completely down. At the same time, it was possible that the more he used it on her, the more familiar she would become with it, and develop resistance to it. As such, he had to succeed as quickly as possible. After making up his mind, Ling Chen took out another spatial orb and returned to the celestial Cherry Valley Central District. It had been less than half an hour since he had left. Before, he would only harass her once per day, and had never returned so quickly before. This had subconsciously planted in the Cherry Blossom God representative's mind that he would only visit once per day. Ling Chen appeared at the back of the Cherry Blossom God representative's residence. As soon as he appeared, he activated Vanishing Shadow, completely concealing his presence. It was as if he wasn't there at all. After staying still for a while, he confirmed that the coast was clear. While in the Vanishing Shadow state, Ling Chen directed Xiao Hui to confirm where the Cherry Blossom God representative was, and walked over at a moderate place. When Ling Chen passed by a small hill, he finally found the Cherry Blossom God representative. She was standing under a large cherry blossom tree, looking up as she held a pink flower petal in her right hand. She wasn't moving at all, as if she was in a daze or conversing with the tree. After all, moon god representatives were quite lonely. They controlled the order of a continent, but were lonely sovereigns. The cherry blossom god representative had always been the only being in the celestial Cherry Valley, so the only things she could talk to were the mountains, the flowing water, the flowers and grass. Ling Chen silently ducked behind the hill and calmed down his breathing, waiting for Vanishing Shadow's cooldown. He was about 60 or 70 meters away from the Cherry Blossom God representative, and he was confident that at such a distance, he could hide his presence from the Cherry Blossom God representative. 10 or so seconds later, Vanishing Shadow's cooldown had been reset, and Ling Chen gripped his fists together. He had to succeed. From behind the hill, Ling Chen slowly stuck out his head, confirming where the Cherry Blossom God representative was. His eyes shone with a strange light, and cast an utter despair curse towards the Cherry Blossom God representative. The Feng Chen curse's range was within the user's line of sight, which meant that no matter how far apart they were, as long as Ling Chen could see her, he could cast it on her. The current state of the Cherry Blossom God representative simply could not be better. She was holding a petal as she spaced out and was completely unaware of his presence. The first Feng Chen curse he had used on the Cherry Blossom God representative had only been half as effective. That was under normal circumstances where she had been somewhat prepared. Currently, she was completely unguarded, so it was possible that the curse would last for its full duration. Under the cherry blossom tree, the Cherry Blossom God representative's eyes that were as bright as stars gradually dimmed. To her, the cherry blossom trees, valley, sky and water, everything became so gray that she didn't want to look at them anymore. The petal in her hand also drifted downwards. I am a moon god representative. Because of my duty, I had to stay here without any family, friends, or even anyone to talk to. Every day I live like a corpse. Day by day, year by year, and in the future, every day and every year will be like this. What's the point in living like this? What's the difference between living like this and dying? Why am I living then? Perhaps if I died, I can escape all of this. I wouldn't be lonely or bored anymore. The Cherry Blossom God representative's eyes lost their luster and became deathly gray. She could no longer find anything that interested her or motivated her in her mind, and only desired for the release death could provide. She had been completely affected by Ling Chen's utter despair curse. What Ling Chen didn't know was that within all of the low-level Feng Chen curses, the utter despair curse had the highest success rate. This was because for curses like the complete and utter belief curse and lovey-lovey curse, the target's mind would be twisted, but it would remain just as strong. However, when affected by the utter despair curse, the target would become mentally weakened, making it difficult for them to detect that they were indeed affected by a curse. Because of the despair they experienced, they wouldn't even bother suspecting that something was wrong, and neither would they try to fight back. They would simply fall deeper and deeper into despair. The cherry blossom god representative didn't expect that Ling Chen would come back. She had been conversing with the cherry blossom tree, and had not been prepared at all. The utter despair curse was silent and formless, so it was only natural that she would be affected by it. After Ling Chen cast the utter despair curse, he immediately activated Broken Shadow, and concealed his presence, rushing towards the cherry blossom god representative. He covered the distance of 70 meters or so in just a few seconds. Seeing the cherry blossom god representative's lifeless eyes, even he was given a great shock. He gripped his hands into fists, and when he was 3 steps away from her, he deactivated Broken Shadow, and roared. Ha! As he shouted, he released Moon Shadow, Moon Flare, and Moon Grief, simultaneously, and both the dark silver light and piercingly bright light shot out, covering the cherry blossom god representative. Ding! The Libra Orb's effects have been activated. Moon Shadow, and Moon Grief's cooldown times have been reset. Despite the light from Moon Flare, Ling Chen could see perfectly well. He gritted his teeth and sprang towards the frozen cherry blossom god representative and sent out a true lucky hand. As he grabbed towards her chest, under the utter despair curse, her mental defenses were almost non-existent, and she had been surprised by Ling Chen's shout and the bright light. Now, it could be said that she was practically defenseless. With Moon Shadow freezing her in place, Moon Grief causing her to forget her skills, and the utter despair curse crippling her spirit, she was in an extremely weak state. This moment was Ling Chen's best opportunity. Although True Lucky Hand sent out a formless hand, Ling Chen couldn't help but stretch out both of his hands, latching onto the cherry blossom god representative's full breasts, as if that would increase the success rate. Ding! Your True Lucky Hand has succeeded. You have received Goddess Orders Tear, White Key, Scorpio Orb, and Plum Stuffing Lollipop from Snow Cherry. Ling Chen's current stats: Player, Ling Tian Level, LV 40 Professions, Ling Tian Battle Soul, Fengchen Curse Affiliations, None Fame Points, 86,693, Money, 1,269,601,782, SP, 850 Primary Attributes, Strength, 583, Constitution, 90, Agility, 120, Spirit, 88 Innate Attributes, Luck, 24, Comprehension, 22 HP, 8525 MP, 6700 Physical Attack Power, 2753 Magic Attack Power, 176 Physical Defense, 520 Hit, Evasion. Critical Chance, 31%, Pierce Chance. Attack Speed, 100, Movement Speed, 238 Elemental Resistances, Water, 0%, Fire, 0%, Wind, 20%, Lightning, 0%, Earth, 70%, Light, 0%, Darkness, 0% Skills, Personal Skills, Scan, cannot be leveled up, Soul Sacrifice, LV4, Soul Demise, LV4, Heaven Wind Technique, LV8, Item Manipulation Technique, LV7, Lucky Hand, LV5, True Lucky Hand, LV4. Profession Skills, Ling Tian Battle Soul, Ling Tian Slash, LV10, Ling Tian Burst, LV10, War God Technique, LV7, Ling Tian Slash, LV6, Ling Tian Burst, LV5, Four Corner Star Formation, LV10, Battle Soul Possession, LV4. Profession Skills, Fengchen Curse Zani, Fengchen Technique, LV7, Broken Shadow, LV4, Vanishing Shadow, LV4. Fengchen Curses, Complete and Utter Belief Curse, Scaredy Cat Curse, Lovey Lovey Curse, I'm a Sheep Curse, Utter Despair Curse, Soul Stealing Curse. Equipment Skills, Great Ravager, 1000 kg Rend, Twilight Spear, Wild Sands, Plus, Moment of Elegance, Titan's Embrace, Sands of Fury, Icy Gold Wings, spread wings. Equipment, weapons, right hand, twilight spear, left hand, great ravager, double-handed blunt weapon, lunar chain, lunar scourge, head, wind chaser bandana, mask, evil god's mask, necklace, white bone pendant, earrings, fairy's blessing, rings, for spirit ring insignia, proof of courage, celestial slayer insignia, heaven slayer insignia, upper and lower body, titan's embrace, belt of blessing, gauntlet, golden feather knuckle dusters, shoes, golden battle boots. That's right. After being affected by the utter despair curse, the cherry blossom god representative's overall strength and mental defenses were practically zero. How could a person who lost even the will to live fight back against the true lucky hand? What's more, Ling Chen had even used moon shadow, moon flare, and moon grief simultaneously to further bewilder her. Having completed his objective, Ling Chen did not foolishly stay behind to continue to mess around with the cherry blossom god representative. He immediately took out a spatial orb and left. Because the cherry blossom god representative was still overcome with despair, she had no intention of attacking him and her pressure did not lock onto him, so he was able to easily leave. Ling Chen had spent massive amounts of time and brain power on her. Although he had seemed calm and arrogant, he had been incredibly nervous. After all, he was just a player facing off against a true moon god representative. Now that he had completed his goal in coming to the East Ocean continent, and had gained much more than he had expected, he naturally wanted to leave quickly before anything happened. After returning to a secluded place to the north of the Sunrise City, Ling Chen couldn't help but wildly laugh. He could imagine what the cherry blossom god representative's reaction would be after recovering from the utter despair curse. She might even be furious to the point of tears. She had been harassed and violated countless times, but still couldn't protect that orb in the end. If she had known that things would have ended up like this, it would have been better for her to have just obediently handed over the orb from the beginning. Thinking about all of this, Ling Chen once again began to loudly laugh. If anyone had passed by, they would have taken him for a deranged person and kept their distance. "Congratulations, little master, you've succeeded," Chiyu said as she smiled. Including the Scorpio orb that he had just obtained, he had now obtained 7 of the mysterious god orbs. More than half of them. And it had taken him less than half a year to gather these orbs. Before, she never would have been able to imagine or believe that such a thing was possible. This time's success was all because of the utter despair curse. Otherwise, simply using true lucky hand would have been a joke. He had mucked around in the East Ocean continent for nearly 2 months now, and he could finally relax. He sat on the ground and took out the orb that he had obtained from the cherry blossom god representative. Scorpio orb, type, energy orb, grade, mysterious god, attributes, fire, earth, darkness. Equipment requirements, can only be socketed in the lunar scourge. Effects, adds a strong, destruction, effect to any attack, physical, magic, item. Any attack can ignore pain reduction and increase pain by 300%, and any attack can have a 15% chance to trigger instant death. Ling Chen breathed in a breath of cold air. Just from the Scorpio orb's name, Ling Chen had guessed that it was an attack-related orb. Scorpions were far smaller than humans, but simply talking about their poison could cause a human to shiver. Out of the 6 orbs he had obtained in the past, apart from the Cancer orb, that had a thunder attribute, none of the other 5 orbs had an attribute. And yet, this Scorpio orb had 3 attributes. Moreover, it gave 3 effects, each of which respectively belonged to the fire, earth and darkness attributes. None of the effects increased Ling Chen's stats, but all of them were insanely terrifying. The Scorpio orb is the only orb out of the 12 god orbs that has so many attributes and effects. A scorpion's claws destroy everything in its path, its stinger brings immense pain and its poison can take away a person's life in an instant. Needless to say, the Scorpio orb is the most terrifying and cruel of the 12 god orbs and 3 saint orbs. Now that Little Master has obtained it, its existence will be a nightmare to all enemies of Little Master. The most terrifying and cruel orb. Looking at its three effects, Ling Chen felt that this title was extremely fitting. Ling Chen took out the darkness crystal from the lunar scourge's 8th socket, and replaced it with the Scorpio orb. Ding! The Scorpio orb has been successfully socketed. Any of your attacks can now carry a strong destruction effect. Any of your attacks can now ignore pain reduction and increase pain by 300% in any of your attacks, and any of your attacks has a 15% chance to trigger instant death. Ding! Lunar Scourge's exclusive lunar skill, Moon Sacrifice, has been unlocked. When he had obtained his first orb, Moon Shadow, had been unlocked, 3 orbs had unlocked, Moon Flare, 5 orbs had unlocked, Moon Grief, 6 orbs had unlocked the special, New Moon, and now 7 orbs had unlocked a new lunar skill. Moon Sacrifice, Lunar Scourge exclusive skill. Uses one's blood as a sacrifice to combine the evil energy within the lunar scourge to its light, covering everything in light and ruthlessly destroying everything within range. A destruction skill with a massive AoE, damage is equivalent to HP x10, and maximum range is level x10. The range is not fixed and can be set within the maximum range. Can be activated when the moon is present. Can unleash 50% of its power and range with New Moon, 70% power and range with Crescent Moon, 100% power and range with Half Moon, 200% power and range with Waxing Moon, 500% power and range with Full Moon, and 800,000% power and 500,000% range with Broken Moon. Consumes 1 HP permanently as a sacrifice, cooldown time, 1 hour. Ling Chen stared at the newly unlocked Moon Sacrifice for a while. Unlike Moon Shadow, Moon Flare, and Moon Grief, it was not a crowd control skill, but a pure damage skill. A damage skill with terrifying power and range. Its activation had an important requirement, which was that there was a moon. The Mystic Moon world didn't have a moon, so the only condition he could activate it in was if he activated New Moon. Moreover, the power and range of the skill was different depending on the phase of the moon. The fuller the moon became, the more powerful and longer the range was. Currently, the Lunar Scourge could only create a New Moon, which meant that Ling Chen could only unleash half of Moon Sacrifice's power and range. Even though it was only half, it was still incredibly powerful. Its damage didn't rely on physical attack power or magic attack power, but strangely enough, on his HP. With his current HP of 8,525, it could deal 42,625 damage. It wasn't difficult for him to deal that amount of damage, but the range of the skill was simply terrifying. With his current level of LV40, it had a range of 10 by 40, then decreased by half, which was 200 meters. With a radius of 200 meters, that meant he could deal 42,625 damage in an area of 126,000 square meters. When it reached the half-moon state, he would be able to unleash 100% of its power and range, and 500% of its power and range when it reached full moon. With Broken Moon, when Ling Chen read those two numbers, his eyes widened, unable to believe what he was seeing. 800,000% power and 500,000% range, what the hell was this? Chiyu, how are the different stages of the moon determined? How does New Moon become Broken Moon? Ling Chen asked. The two numbers for Broken Moon made him feel so shocked that it was difficult to breathe. 8,000 times power and 5,000 range, and the damage and range would increase as he became stronger as well. If he unleashed Moon Sacrifice at max level with Broken Moon, that power and range could even be able to insta-kill a Saint Destroyer beast. The range could probably cover the entire Forgotten Continent. Chiyu had expected this reaction from Ling Chen when he saw the Lunar Scourge's first destruction. She replied, the moon from the lunar scourge is split into 5 stages. New moon is its earliest stage and only manifests as a tiny sliver that gives off faint moonlight. The crescent moon is larger than the new moon, but is missing more than half of the rest of the moon. Half moon is exactly half of the moon and allows you to unleash the full power of lunar scourge. Waxing moon is where the moon is bigger than half but is not yet full. It is quite bright and can unleash much more power than usual. Full moon is a completely full moon and is the brightest the moon can become. Right now, the lunar scourge only has 7 orbs, and doesn't have the important saint orbs, so it can only release new moon. As you obtain more and more orbs, the moon will become fuller and fuller. When all 12 god orbs and 3 saint orbs have been found, the lunar scourge will be able to release full moon. Then what about broken moon? What is broken moon? Ling Chen immediately asked. He could easily understand what the 5 stages from new moon to full moon were. However, since the moon in full moon was already full, what was the broken moon about? Moreover, with broken moon, moon sacrifice's damage and range were a bit too ridiculous. Qiyu fell silent for a while before slowly saying, broken moon refers to light of the moon when it is destroyed. The lunar scourge cannot create a broken moon, and the broken moon effect can only happen once, the light of a moon that is being destroyed. However, broken moon can never appear, so please remember that, little master. The light of a destroyed moon, so it was like that. Just like Qiyu had said, it could never appear. In that case, broken moon's terrifying power was just there for show. After all, the Forgotten Continent didn't have a real moon, and even if there was a real moon, how could it be destroyed? Of course, with how powerful moon sacrifice was, there was a price to be paid. Each time Ling Chen activated it, it would reduce his HP permanently by 1. Goddess Order's Tear, the first tear the Goddess Order shed after her power matured. It contains pure order energy. When it is consumed by a living being, permanently increases 2 of the 4 primary attributes, strength, constitution, agility and spirit, by 200 points. Ling Chen's hand holding the little bottle shook, and he almost started to cry. He read the description again and again, confirming that what he saw was true. If he drank this, 2 of his primary attributes would be increased by 200 points. And that was for both of them. In total, his stats would increase by 400 points. Ordinarily, a player would only receive 5 attribute points every time they leveled up. A normal player would only receive 400 points by the time they leveled up to LV 80. Nothing less than expected from something carried by a moon god representative or something that came from the goddess order. The stats were simply monstrous. The pure water from the fairy fountain that the fairy clan guarded permanently increased one's HP by 1000, and that was already game-breaking. And yet, this one small tear was more powerful than the fairy fountain water by many, many times. Feeling incredibly excited, Ling Chen did not even think as he opened the bottle and drank down the contents. Of course, drinking it as soon as possible was the best course of action. If he kept it on him and it was taken back by the cherry blossom god representative or lost in some other way, he would be devastated. The safest course of action was to just drink it now. Who cared if it was a tear? With such incredible stats, he would drink it even if it was the goddess order's saliva or breast milk. Ding, you have consumed goddess order's tear, constitution plus 200 permanently and spirit plus 200 permanently. As the system announcement sounded out, Ling Chen's constitution and spirit were increased by 200 points. Adding on the bonus from the Virgo orb, Ling Chen's HP and MP broke past 10,000. His HP was now 13,525 and his MP was now 11,700, which was higher than even shield bearers and mages of the same level. Was there anything more euphoric than having one's stats instantly increased by 400 points? Ling Chen was so overjoyed that he almost moaned, and decided that staying in the East Ocean continent was an incredibly good choice. He grinned as he took out the second item. It was a white key that was as long as his middle finger and felt metallic. White key, a key that is always kept on the cherry blossom god representative. It may be used to unlock the 12th shrine at the Moon God Palace, the Cherry Blossom Shrine. Holding this key, Ling Chen frowned slightly and quickly thought of something. He looked through his bag and took out a rusted, old key. The key's shape and size was quite similar to the white key he had obtained from the Cherry Blossom God representative. Old key, the old key is very old. It contains the power of the Moon God clan and is unable to be destroyed by the forces of nature, preserving its state even till now. It may be used to unlock the 7th shrine at the Moon God Palace, the Water Celestial Shrine. Ling Chen had obtained this key from the Moon God ruins. If he remembered correctly, they had the exact same function, which was to open shrines at the Moon God Palace. One could open the 7th shrine, the Water Celestial Shrine, while the other could open the 12th shrine, the Cherry Blossom Shrine. These two shrines were probably where the owners of these keys had originally resided. These keys didn't seem to be very useful to Ling Chen. Ling Chen thought for a while before putting them away and taking out the third item he had obtained from the Cherry Blossom God representative. The instant he took it out, he was dumbfounded, and stared at it for a while, in a daze. It was a lollipop, that's right, a lollipop. What's more, it was quite large. The stick was as big as half of Ling Chen's arm and the actual lolly was as big as his face. Ling Chen held it in front of him, and found that it could cover his entire face, and it gave off a sweet aroma. Plum stuffing lollipop, a big lollipop. It is sour, sweet and delicious. This simple sentence told Ling Chen that this was just an ordinary lollipop. No matter if it was in the real world or virtual world, lollipops weren't very special. They could be found anywhere in the real world, and in the virtual world there were all sorts of delicious things. There were even bigger ones than the one Ling Chen had in his hand. However, this lollipop came from the Cherry Blossom God representative. There had to be something special about it. Could it be that the Cherry Blossom God representative liked eating lollipops, so she always carried one or two around with her? However, it didn't seem like a mighty Moon God representative would bring around lollipops with her. Ling Chen held the lollipop, feeling complicated, and Leng silently appeared beside him. She looked at the lollipop with her dim eyes. She had been lured out by the sweet smell of the lollipop. "Master, lollipop," Leng spoke softly, looking at Ling Chen with a look of desire in her eyes. Ling Chen didn't hesitate as he gave the lollipop to Leng, saying, "Leng, you can eat this." Leng looked quite happy, and stretched out her left hand to take the lollipop. However, it looked quite strenuous for her to hold the lollipop. After all, Leng had very powerful darkness CC skills, but had essentially no physical attack power and was physically weak. Moreover, she was holding a cute plush doll in her right hand and was not willing to let go. It was impossible for her to hold such a big lollipop in just her left hand. Ling Chen could only take it back and hold it for her, saying, "Leng, I'll hold it while you eat." "MNNN," Leng softly responded as a strange glow flashed in her dark eyes. Her pale face became slightly pink in happiness and stretched out her little tongue as she gently licked the lollipop. The lollipop seemed to be quite delicious, and soon, part of the lollipop glistened from her saliva. "Is it tasty?" Ling Chen softly asked as he continued to hold the lollipop. A bit sour, Leng stopped licking it and moved back a bit, putting both of her arms around her doll. This signaled to Ling Chen that she had enough. Leng usually didn't eat anything. Although Ling Chen occasionally took her out to eat, she wouldn't eat much, and only liked to eat sweets. It wasn't strange that she had stopped licking the lollipop after a short while. Ling Chen looked at her saliva on the lollipop, then looked at the lollipop's description, which he found hadn't changed. He then looked at Leng, who didn't seem to have changed either. This was quite strange. why would a moon god representative have an ordinary lollipop on her? Ding, your pet Ling Er's favorability towards you increased +2. When the system announcement sounded out, Ling Er had already disappeared from Ling Chen's side. Ling Chen fell into a daze for a few seconds. That didn't seem right. Right now, raising Ling Er's favorability towards him by even 1 point took at least half a month of work. During that time, he needed to offer her countless dolls and tell her countless stories. The only method to suddenly increase her favorability was for her to level up. Why had her favorability towards him suddenly increased by 2 points? Could it because he had fed her the lollipop just then? It was truly difficult to understand a girl's heart. After staring at the lollipop for a while, Ling Chen did not discover anything unusual about it. As such, he put it away. Perhaps only the cherry blossom god representative would know what was special about it. However, asking her didn't seem like a very good idea. Let alone the cherry blossom god representative who had suffered so much under Ling Chen's hands and had so many things stolen away. Even a Buddha would be completely enraged by Ling Chen's conduct. Before, he hadn't completely forced her to go berserk. In the end, she was still a moon god representative. If she became truly furious and determined to kill him, there was nothing he could do as a player. Having obtained the orb that Suer's information had referred to, as well as an extra orb, there was no reason for Ling Chen to stay in the East Ocean continent any longer. Even if it was to avoid the cherry blossom god representative, Ling Chen decided that it was best to leave as soon as possible. He stood up and patted the dirt off himself, then took out the world boundary scroll that still had one use. He stuck out his middle finger towards the Sunrise City. Goodbye, Japanese friends. Thank you for providing me amusement with your idiocy and powerlessness. In the future, if I have the opportunity, I'll be back. Goodbye, Snow Cherry Girlie. When I miss you, I'll look at your photos, hee hee. As he laughed, Ling Chen lifted up the world boundary scroll, preparing to shatter it. At that moment, a system announcement sounded out. Ding! Japan Region Announcement. The East Ocean Continent's Goddess of Order, the Cherry Blossom God Representative, has used her divine power to seal the East Ocean Continent's world boundary. Unless the seal is lifted or the world boundary is destroyed, players will not be able to enter or exit the East Ocean continent. This system announcement surprised Ling Chen, and a system announcement for him sounded out immediately after. Ding! The East Ocean continent's world boundary has been sealed by the East Ocean continent's Goddess of Order, the Cherry Blossom God Representative. Before the seal is lifted, it will be impossible for you to pass through the world boundary and leave the East Ocean continent through any means. After dying, you will respawn at the nearest revival point in the East Ocean continent. Ling Chen stared in shock, then tried to shatter the world boundary scroll with his target as the Azure Dragon City in the Forgotten Continent. Ding! The East Ocean continent's world boundary has been sealed. The world boundary scroll cannot be used. Ling Chen's arm slowly fell to his side. Evidently, the Cherry Blossom God Representative had been completely and utterly enraged. She was so furious that, in order to prevent Ling Chen from escaping, she had locked down the entire East Ocean continent. In all honesty, for a Moon God Representative to do all this for a mere player gave him all the glory. However, if it was anyone else, they would have been terrified and start to sweat like crazy. However, Ling Chen wasn't afraid at all. Facing the possibility of never being able to leave the East Ocean continent, he smirked and started to laugh. You're not letting me leave, heh, alright, then I won't leave. Now, even if you beg me to go, I won't go. I'm going to stay here and completely turn this little East Ocean continent upside down. After walking for a while, he began to see more players. Because he was fairly close to the Sunrise City, there were not as many monsters here, and the players training here were all quite low-leveled. Most of these players were simply playing for fun. At this moment, a team of around 100 people walked from the direction of the Sunrise City, all of whom had a blazing sun embroidered on their sleeves. Seeing them, the players all stepped to the side and looked at them and the suns on their arms, which showed that they were part of the strongest guild, the Unsetting Sun. This group of people continuously looked around them, carefully checking each person. They only glanced at the female players, but would look at the male players for around 4 to 5 seconds. You, show your name. A player who had his name hidden became surrounded by the Unsetting Sun players, with 10 or so weapons pointed towards him. It was because he had hidden his name and his build was quite similar to Ling Chen's. After the surrounded player quickly revealed his name, the Unsetting Sun players looked at it, apologized, and continued to patrol around. They were one of the teams specially sent out by the Unsetting Sun to look for Ling Tian, with countless teams like this patrolling the entire East Ocean continent. Not only the Unsetting Sun, but also the Black Dragon Guild and Grand Alliance were all doing this. The leaders of the top 3 guilds all hated Ling Tian to their bones, and adding on the fury the Japanese players felt towards Ling Tian, all of them wanted to kill Ling Tian at all costs. If it was before, Ling Chen would have quickly left. Of course, it wasn't because he was afraid, but that he didn't want to waste time on these small fry. However, now that he had completed his objective, since he couldn't leave the East Ocean continent, it didn't matter what he did. Whoosh! Ling Chen put on his battle equipment and held his 2 weapons, which everyone recognized, in his hands. He swaggered towards the Unsetting Sun's team, revealing his name above his head. Ling Tian. As Ling Chen walked forwards, a female player spotted him and started to yell out. The effect was like a hornet's nest that had been prodded, sending everyone in the area abuzz. In China, Ling Tian was an incomparably powerful expert. This was something that everyone knew. In the East Ocean continent, this name had become the name of a demon. After entering the East Ocean continent, he had brought the Japanese players nightmare after nightmare. The name above Ling Chen's head stimulated every single Japanese player, causing more than half of them to subconsciously retreat. The Unsetting Sun's 100-person team charged up, forming an encirclement around him. The shield-bearer held his large shield in front of him, pointing his sword towards Ling Chen as he roared, "Ling Tian. Let's see where you can run." His voice was loud, but evidently, he wasn't that confident. As he shouted, both of his hands were evidently trembled. They had all been looking for Ling Tian, but deep down, they were all praying that they wouldn't find him. What a joke! Back then at the Sunrise City's central square, thousands of Japanese players had been toyed around by him. Even the legendary Blade Emperor had been insta-killed by him, so what could they do? They didn't even qualify to act as an appetizer. Heh, Ling Chen grinned, speaking calmly as if he had met an old friend. "Are you sure?" These mocking words tore away the Japanese players' fear. The shield-bearer at the front didn't know what to say, and his face began to turn red. He roared, "Attack! Hurry up and attack! If we kill Ling Tian, we'll be heroes." With so many players watching, as the team sent by the Unsetting Sun, they couldn't simply retreat. Hearing their leaders yell, the rest of the players gritted their teeth and rushed towards Ling Chen. Within the 100-person team, there were shield-bearers, warriors, mages, archers, assassins, priests, summoners, all 7 professions. However, no matter how skilled they were or how good their equipment was, they simply couldn't threaten Ling Chen at all. Facing their attacks, Ling Chen didn't even move. Only when the melee players were right in front of him did he smirk and slash out with the Great Ravager and Twilight Spear. 2 arcs swept out, instantly covering the area in front of and behind him. Bang 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 bang. Arg! A wave of colliding sounds rang out, and all of the players close to Ling Chen were blasted away. This sound would have been quite terrifying, but it was almost completely covered by the sounds of the Japanese players screaming as they died. The players sent flying screamed incredibly pitifully, sounding exactly like demons, causing the other players to wince. For them to let out such screams, the other players simply couldn't imagine the degree of pain they felt. This sort of pain should not have been experienced in a game. As the rest of the players watched on with shock, the players sent flying fell to the ground. Everyone's faces were incredibly twisted, and even the corpses' bodies still had terrifyingly twisted expressions. Their eyes were staring horrifically, their pupils almost 10 times as large as normal, creating a shocking scene. What was going on? Why did their screams sound so pained? Why were their expressions so terrifying? It was as if they had endured the greatest pain of their life or had seen something incomparably horrifying. Didn't players normally choose the 10% pain setting? Could it be that all of these people were crazy and chose the 100% pain setting? However, even with the 100% pain setting, the pain should not have been so overwhelming. In just one strike, Ling Chen had insta-killed nearly 20 players, and the screams they let out caused the other players to quake with fear. Ling Chen's body blurred and reappeared somewhere else. What looked like a casual teleportation allowed him to dodge the attacks from the ranged players, and before anyone had realized what was going on, yet another 2 arcs were sent out as he grinned. With the Scorpio orb, his attacks completely ignored the other players' pain settings. Not only that, it increased the pain they experienced by 300%. This meant that every time he attacked, his victims experienced the pain of being completely annihilated, multiplied by 3. In the current age where battles in real life were essentially non-existent, even a small cut would cause a person to grimace in pain, and the sight of blood would cause most people to cry out. How many people could endure the pain of being slashed by swords and spears? Moreover, Ling Chen had incredibly high attacks, and would cause them to endure 3 times the normal pain. Another 10 or so people were swept up in Ling Chen's second attack. In an instant, yet another 10 or so people screamed their hearts out, tearing at everyone else's ears. In that instant, they understood why the people from before had displayed such terrifying reactions. The instant Ling Tian's attack hit them, they could clearly feel their bodies being slashed into shreds, and their mind was completely devoured by the pain, making them feel as if they had fallen into hell. It was a sort of pain that made them wish they could die immediately, as this pain stole away their consciousness, rendering them only able to scream and howl, until their throats were hoarse. Ling Chen was facing around 100 people, which was a decently sized team. Although Ling Chen was by himself, his attacks could cover a large range. Even shield bearers would be insta-killed if they so much as came into contact with his attacks. Moreover, his attacks didn't have any cooldown times, and adding on with him walking around, the 100-person team was nothing to him. Before the surrounding Japanese players could recover from their shock, Ling Chen had already decimated most of the players with a little more than 10 or so terrifying attacks. Hurry! 2 kilometers to the north of the Sunrise City. Ling Tian's here, arg! After casually sweeping out with his weapons, the last of the unsetting sun players fell to the ground. From when Ling Chen had first appeared till now, only 10 or so seconds had passed. A 100-person team had been annihilated just like that, and the bestial howls finally ceased. Ling Chen looked around him and started to walk towards the Sunrise City. As he walked, the low-leveled players all stayed back, none of them daring to attack him. Their faces were horrifically pale, and some of their bodies trembled. Ling Tian shouldn't have been able to make them so afraid. Even if it was for their honor, they should have rushed up to surround him and attack, despite the consequence of death. However, the screams from the players before had caused their bodies to tremble, and no one had even a shred of courage to go up. Those howls and twisted faces and enlarged pupils, it was evident how much pain the people who had died from Ling Chen's attacks had suffered. As the Japanese players looked on in shock, Ling Chen continued to walk towards the Sunrise City. None of the players who had just witnessed that massacre dared to approach him. Unsurprisingly though, not long after Ling Chen started to walk, a thundering roar came from ahead of him. Soon, a dark wave of players rushed towards him, one that extended as far as one's eyes could see. As they came closer, even the ground began to shake. As soon as they had heard that Ling Tian was here, the three largest guilds had sent almost all of their elite players. Under their leaders' commands, they had rushed over and gathered together. Many powers had allied to face a single person, and they were full of morale and confidence. Their shouts shook the heavens, and their attitude was as if Ling Tian had killed their fathers and raped their wives. Ling Chen coldly laughed and didn't stop walking as he continued to move to meet the sea of players. Ling Tian, it's impossible for you to escape today. Hurry up and, arg. Before the person in the lead could finish his words, an incredibly terrifying howl sounded in every person's ears. Ling Chen, who had been 30 meters away, left behind an afterimage as he disappeared. His speed was simply unbelievable, and streaked like a shadow towards the Japanese players in front of him. A single attack sent 8 Japanese players flying, who all let out cries like pigs being slaughtered. This was just the beginning. Ling Chen did not stop, and like a monstrous lightning bolt, he shot into the massive crowd of players, with the Fengchen technique leveled up, and adding on the icy gold wings that gave him 20 movement speed. Ling Chen's movement speed already reached 238, even without a mount. With Broken Shadow activated, his movement speed reached 2,380. This incredible figure could even cause a god to break out in sweat. The Japanese players could only see a wave of afterimages, and were unable to clearly see him or lock on to him. In this state, Ling Chen charged full speed ahead, apathetically piercing through the Japanese players' team like a bayonet. His arms continuously swept out with the Great Ravager and Twilight Spear as he looked forwards, searching for places to charge towards. He had no need to look at his sides, as every time he casually attacked with his weapons, he would blast away 20 or so players. To these Japanese players, coming into contact with Ling Tian's weapons meant instant death, as well as an enormous wave of pain that would cause them to lose their minds. Ling Chen didn't slow down at all, and the Japanese players' screams continuously sounded out. The continuous screaming caused the Japanese players' hearts to tremble and their scalps to become numb. The people at the back heard the screams from the front, and wondered what was happening. In the next second, a figure appeared in front of them and blasted them away. As they howled and screamed, they didn't even know how they died and couldn't even clearly see who it was that killed them. Even if they looked down while they were flying into the air, they could only see a blur disappearing off to the distance. Ling Chen displayed just how terrifying overwhelming speed could be. Facing Ling Chen, who was more than 10 times as fast as them, not a single person could lock on to his position. When Ling Chen rushed over, none of them could react in time, let alone counter-attack. The outcome was either being massacred by Ling Chen, or, if they were lucky enough to escape death, by the time they had realized what was happening Ling Chen would already be long gone. All they were left with was fear and cold sweat. How could they counter-attack? As such, in a very short period of time, Japanese players' corpses littered the ground and screams filled the air. However, Ling Chen, who had dove into this massive army, had not been hit a single time. Even if another player had this speed, they would not have been able to create such a scene. Extreme speed was quite powerful, but not every person could control this speed. If a normal player had this speed instead of Ling Chen, in the blink of an eye, they would crash into another player. To crash into someone else at such a speed would result in them crashing to the ground, after which they would be jumped on by other players and torn to death. However, with Ling Chen's eyes, agility, and reaction speed, as well as instincts honed from extreme situations, the crowd simply couldn't block him with his speed. Ling Chen was like slippery fish, nimbly darting between the players. Before the effects of Broken Shadow ended, Ling Chen had passed from the front to the back of the army with more than 10,000 players. There was a line of corpses on the ground, cutting this gigantic army in half. Ling Chen smirked and didn't even look back as he continued to rush forwards. Soon, he had disappeared from the Japanese players' vision. The gigantic army fell silent. The leaders all stared with their eyes as big as plates, and their mouths hung open as their minds went blank. A gust of wind blew past, causing them all to shiver. What are you all waiting for? Hurry up and chase after him. Anyone could hear the trembling in the voice that gave out this order. Ling Tian had evidently ran towards the Sunrise City, and was incredibly fast. He had completely disappeared by this point. After the leaders gave out the orders, the army turned around and started running towards the Sunrise City. However, none of them were shouting anymore, due to how scared they all felt. Their fear written all over their faces. Sunrise City, Unsetting Sun's headquarters, looks like it's here, Ling Chen said as he looked at the large words, Unsetting Sun, in his concealed state. He evilly laughed, Unsetting Sun? Heh. I'll make this sun permanently set today. Ling Chen loudly laughed as he revealed himself and charged forwards. He hefted up the Great Ravager and smashed it down towards the Unsetting Sun headquarters main door. An explosion sounded out, and cracks spread out on the large door that was as tall as 3 people. The cracks quickly spread, and soon covered the entire door from the bottom to the top. At the same time, the alarms sounded out, notifying every unsetting player that their headquarters were being attacked. The players within the headquarters all froze and then rushed to the main door. What's going on? In the main hall, Yamamoto Michio shot to his feet when he heard the alarm. He frowned as he yelled, "Which bastard is tired of living and dares to attack our unsetting sun?" It was difficult to establish and develop a guild to maturity, and so a mature guild would also be incredibly difficult to destroy. In fact, 2 guilds of similar strengths would be unable to destroy each other. Even if a guild was stronger than another guild, they would usually have to pay a heavy price to destroy it. Of course, suppressing weaker guilds was a different matter. The Unsetting Sun was the most powerful guild in the East Ocean continent. This was something everyone acknowledged. Even if the other top 4 guilds allied together, it would still be impossible for them to destroy the Unsetting Sun. Moreover, since the Unsetting Sun had made a name for itself, no guild had ever dared to attack their headquarters, as this was tantamount to suicide. Just as Yamamoto Michio went to see who it was who dared to attack the Unsetting Sun, a high-ranking guild member stumbled in, yelling, "Alliance Master! It's Ling Tian! Ling Tian has come! Ling Tian?" Yamamoto Michio's face instantly darkened, then became ashen. He gritted his teeth as he yelled, "Good! We were looking for him, but he delivered himself to us. This time, we must make him pay the heaviest price." He looked at the pale-faced player and suddenly became enraged, yelling, "Bastard! Isn't it just Ling Tian? Why have you become so cowardly? Stop losing our unsetting sun's face. Do you really think Ling Tian could destroy our unsetting sun by himself? Alliance Master! Things aren't good. Ling Tian has already destroyed the main door. He's already charged into the forecourt." Yamamoto Michio stared in shock for a few seconds before he yelled out in shock, "What? What did you say? How's that possible? How could he destroy the main door in such a short period of time? Even if the Black Dragon Guild and the Grand Alliance allied together, they have to spend at least 3 days and 3 nights attacking to destroy the main door. How could Ling Tian destroy the main door so quickly by himself? Our main door's defense is already LV5. The main door was a guild's first line of defense, and was the toughest door to destroy. As the strongest door in a guild's headquarters, it had incredibly high defense, and this was even more so for the main door of the top guild. Currently, the Unsetting Sun's guild level, LV5, was the highest in all of Japan. This meant that their main door's level had also risen to LV5. Currently, their main door had 20 million HP, which meant that if anyone wanted to attack the Unsetting Sun's headquarters, they would have to go through all 20 million of the main door's HP while being attacked by the Unsetting Sun players. Moreover, after main doors reached LV3, they gained a regeneration effect. If the speed at which the attackers could not outpace the main door's regeneration, it would be impossible for the attackers to break through. Only 10 or so seconds had passed since Yamamoto Michio had heard the alarm and received the system announcement. That meant that Ling Chen had only started attacking around 10 seconds ago. It had only been 10 or so seconds. How could he destroy the main door with 20 million HP in that short period of time? Alliance Master. Alliance Master. Things are bad. Another voice came from outside of the hall. Soon, another high-ranking player scrambled in, yelling in fear, Ling Tian. Ling Tian has already broken through the second door and is in the mid-court. What? Yamamoto Michio stumbled, his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The second door had 15 million HP. Currently, Ling Chen was standing outside of the unsetting sun's third defensive door. Behind him were countless Japanese players' corpses. As the surviving unsetting sun players watched in horror, he raised his weapons and smashed them towards the third defensive door. Boom! As the explosion sounded out, two massive damage figures rose up, and two large cracks spread throughout the entire defensive door. Ling Chen smirked and swept his weapons towards the door again. Bang! Cracks covered the defensive door, which then crumbled. Just like that, a defensive door with 15 million HP was destroyed after just 2 attacks from Ling Chen. Of course, this wasn't because Ling Chen's attack power had reached a terrifying level, it was because of the strong destruction element given by the Scorpio orb. Since the defensive door wasn't a living creature, it could be easily destroyed. Under the destructive element, which completely disregarded HP, even if the defensive door had 100 times as much HP, it was simply a piece of rotten wood in front of Ling Chen. This was the unsetting sun's headquarters. When their headquarters had been attacked, all of the unsetting sun players received a system announcement telling them to return to the headquarters. Currently, the headquarters were filled with players, and Ling Chen was surrounded by countless players. However, not a single person dared to go up and attack. They were all staring at him, dumbfounded. None of them could believe that he had destroyed those defensive doors by himself. From when he had started attacking to now, only about a minute had passed. And yet, he had destroyed the main door, the secondary door and the third defensive door by himself. Was he even human? How could a player be so powerful? Ling Chen noticed that Yamamoto Michio had come. His gaze locked onto his position as he savored the terrified look on Yamamoto Michio's face and said, "Yamamoto Michio, you've been desperately looking for me, right? Just as you wished, I've come to find you. I'm sure you're feeling quite happy, right?" Ling Chen's words were like a bucket of cold water that had been poured on Yamamoto Michio's head. His body trembled and the fear within him grew much greater, because after witnessing what had just happened with his own eyes, he finally realized that the defensive doors were like nothing to this Ling Tian. In that case, it was entirely possible that he could rush to the innermost region of the guild. If Ling Tian was allowed near the guild sign, the unsetting sun faced the possibility of destruction. As the word destruction flitted across Yamamoto Michio's mind, his body instantly erupted into sweat and his face paled. He had never even considered this possibility, as he never thought that anyone could achieve such a feat. However, seeing Ling Tian destroy a defensive door so easily, he knew that that word could easily become a reality. He immediately pointed towards Ling Chen, roaring, "What are you all standing around for? Immediately kill him. Whoever kills Ling Tian will immediately be promoted to elder and will be rewarded with 5 million gold. Attack! Kill him at all cost." The players all felt as if they had been awakened from a dream and all rushed towards Ling Chen. However, if they could overcome him with numbers, they would not have been toyed around with him back then at the Sunrise City's central square. Moreover, Ling Chen was far stronger than he had been back then. Seeing that dark mob charging towards him, Ling Chen didn't seem anxious at all. He raised his right hand and released Moon Grief. Ding! The Libra Orb's effects have been activated. Moon Grief's cooldown time has been reset. Even a moon god representative couldn't resist the light from this heaven-defying item, much less measly players. The players in the 80 meters around Ling Chen all forgot how to cast their skills. To Ling Chen, even if there were twice as many of these players in this state, he wouldn't feel any pressure at all. He charged towards the fourth defensive door as the weapons in his hands casually swept out towards the players in front of him. Sounds of people and weapons colliding, and screams of horror filled the air. Bang 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 bang. The Japanese players, who had all forgotten their skills, froze mid-action. As they looked around in bewilderment, death came swiftly upon them. Ling Chen's attacks didn't give out the normal sounds weapons would make when hitting something, but rather an ear-ringing sound of explosions. Every time he sent out two powerful Ling Tian bursts, at least 20 players would be caught in it and sent flying. Needless to say, they were all insta-killed. Even the bravest of the players lost their courage when they heard the screams of the other players. Moreover, even without Broken Shadow, Ling Chen was still incredibly fast. He whirled his two weapons around within the chaotic mob of Japanese players, taking lives here and there. As for the Japanese players' attacks, Ling Chen didn't even pay attention to them. When he attacked with his Great Ravager and Twilight Spear, none of the melee players could even come close. As he casually swung his weapons around, there would always be a large vacuum of space around him. Before that space was filled to even half by players, it would once again be cleared out. The blood-red damage figures that rose up and the howls of the victims of his attacks, caused all of the players to breathe in a breath of cold air, and in their shock, some had even forgotten to attack. The only ones whose attacks could threaten Ling Chen, the mages, could only stand there dumbly, trying to remember how to cast their spells. Moon Grief was the most terrifying when it was used in group battles. With Moon Grief, S effects activated, even though Ling Chen dived into a sea of thousands of players, it was as if a wolf had dived into a herd of sheep. He was just facing a group of trash who could barely attack, and adding on his extremely high defense, he felt no threat from them at all. By the time Moon Grief, S effects were about to end, the unsetting sun players had fallen into complete chaos and their screams shook even the heavens. Despite being surrounded by so many people, Ling Chen continued to massacre his way to the fourth defensive door. In the distance, Yamamoto Michio's face was as pale as a sheet. Of course, he had seen how powerful Ling Tian was in the past, but now he was so shocked that every cell in his body was trembling. At this moment, he saw a piercing white light, which caused Ling Chen to teleport 10 or so meters, sending him towards the players who were stoutly defending the fourth defensive door. In the next instant, waves of howls began to sound out from there. With the Twilight Spear's active skill, Ling Chen directly pierced through an entire wall of people, placing him just 10 or so meters away from the fourth defensive door. He then sent out a four corners star formation, blasting out all of the players around him. At max level, the four corners star formation had a range of 15 meters, and sent out violent shockwaves. Because of how densely the players had gathered to defend the fourth defensive door, that single attack caused almost 200 players to fly into the air. Part of the marble floor had also been lifted up, and broken shards were sent flying along with the players. In the 15 meters around Ling Chen, there was not a single part of the ground left unscathed. Ka! Bang! Behind Ling Chen, 10 meters away, tens of cracks quickly appeared on the fourth defensive door. As the cracks grew longer and wider, the door finally broke down. The fourth defensive door had been directly destroyed by the four corners star formation, without Ling Chen even needing to attack a second time. Just like that, 4 of the 5 defensive doors had been destroyed. This was a terrifying nightmare for all of the unsetting sun players. If Ling Chen destroyed the 5th defensive door, he could enter the inner hall. All he would have to do was gently attack in order to destroy the unsetting sun. Block him. Block him with your bodies. Squash him to death. Don't let him advance. As he watched the 4th defensive door being destroyed, Yamamoto Michio could feel his mind breaking down. At this moment, he truly realized that making an enemy out of Ling Tian had been a grave error. He was now filled with fear and regret. After witnessing his power at the Sunrise City's central square, he should have kept his distance. Yamamoto Michio realized that even though Ling Tian was from another country, he should have tried to become friends with this madman. Even if that wasn't possible, he should have avoided becoming enemies at all costs. If the unsetting sun was really destroyed, then everything would be finished. With the survival of the unsetting sun on the line, the unsetting sun players had to give all they had. They all gave up on attacking, instead opting to rush at Ling Chen as fast as they could. This was an extremely desperate measure. They wanted to use their bodies to surround Ling Chen and limit his movement, or perhaps it was so their corpses would build up and trap him in place or bury him. Occasionally, when facing extremely powerful bosses, they would use such extreme measures. They never thought that they would be forced to use such a tactic against a single player. Looking at the players who had all accepted their fates, Ling Chen smirked and gauged how far he was away from the last defensive door. A pair of dark golden wings spread out from his back, taking him into the air. All of a sudden, he was 20 meters above the other players. The players who were charging over were all dumbfounded. They all stumbled as they stopped running, staring at Ling Chen and his wings in shock and disbelief. Of course, there was also admiration and envy. Flight equipment was incredibly rare in the virtual world. They were just as rarely seen as a phoenix's feather or a cheetah's horn. If a player had flight equipment, they would be able to fly in the sky. This was something everyone dreamed of. And it turned out that this incomparably powerful Ling Tian had flight equipment. It was as if all the good things in the world had been monopolized by him. In the air, Ling Chen smiled as he looked down at the Japanese players sympathetically. He then raised his head as he muttered, "Today's moon is quite beautiful, eh?" The Japanese players also looked up, and found that a very faint moon had appeared without them noticing. The moon. This was the first time they had seen moonlight in the Mystic Moon world. However, it was daytime 24/7 in the Mystic Moon world, so how could a moon appear? Alright, I'll let you appreciate some beautiful moonlight that you'll remember for the rest of your lives. Ling Chen raised his right hand and a silver-white light rushed out from the lunar scourge up into the air towards the new moon. Ding! The Libra orb's effects have been activated. Moon Sacrifice's cooldown time has been reset. The lunar scourge's light shot into the air and reached the new moon in an instant. The originally dim new moon became incredibly bright, covering everything in bright silver light. Moonlight was something that was normally gentle and beautiful. Looking up at the night sky while being bathed by moonlight was one of the best things in life, and one could even feel their souls being cleansed by the moonlight. However, when the lunar scourge's moonlight covered the players, the gentle and beautiful moonlight became nightmarish, covering the 200 meters around Ling Chen. Arg! It was impossible to describe how wretched the screams were. Tens of thousands of players began to scream in pain as soon as the moonlight touched them. They felt as if their bodies and hearts had been pierced by countless of unseen arrows, riddling their bodies with holes and tearing them apart. None of them had experienced such pain before, exceeding their limits. In fact, for some, it was more painful than all the pain they had experienced in the past combined. They felt as if they had fallen into hell, and longed for death, but all they could do was wail and howl. 67, 62567, 62567, 62567, 62567, 62567, 62567, 62567, 625. Tens of thousands of red damage figures rose up from the players at the unsetting sun's headquarters, forming a gigantic red fog. The beauty and horror of the scene shocked even Ling Chen. It was like the players were screaming and howling within a sea of blood. The Scorpio orb's effects applied to any attack from Ling Chen, no matter if it was physical, magic or even attacks from items. As long as the attack came from Ling Chen, it would ignore any pain reduction and increase pain by 300%. With New Moon, only half of Moon Sacrifice's might could be displayed. However, even with 50% of its power, it was more than enough to kill these weak players more than 10 times over. Even with 50% of its range, it still covered more than 120,000 square meters. In order to protect the headquarters, the unsetting sun players had all quickly returned. As such, they were gathered incredibly densely, and a single, moon sacrifice, covered over 50,000 unsetting sun players. Under the bright moonlight, the 50,000 unsetting sun players screamed like demons and were all executed. Just like the other lunar skills, Moon Sacrifice could be instantly cast, and didn't last for very long. The bright moonlight shone for an instant before the new moon in the sky became dim again, and the nightmarish light soon disappeared. Below, the blood fog began to disappear, and the ground was littered with corpses. The mountain of corpses extended as far as the eye could see. In this massive area, apart from Ling Chen, not a single player was left standing. Not only that, the beautiful marble floor was now cracked and shattered. The 30 or so buildings within Moon Sacrifice's range had all been ravaged, and even the players who had not participated and hid inside the buildings to watch the action had died without even knowing what had happened. At a glance, all that could be seen were corpses and ruins. It was a completely hellish scene. In that moment it was as if the entire world had fallen silent. Forgotten continent, Yan Huang Alliance's headquarters. Long Tian Yun's body swayed, and his cold face became incredibly pale. Large drops of sweat began to form on his forehead, and slowly dripped down. He stared fixatedly at the screen, which showed the scene of Ling Chen destroying the unsetting sun. Young master, are you all right? The scene that appeared on the screen caused Flame Shadow to balk, and Long Tian Yun's reaction was even more intense. An instant, it had been an instant. Countless players had fallen amidst the screaming, and nearly 1/3 of the unsetting sun's headquarters had been turned into ruins. He had personally seen a scene that he thought could only be seen in sci-fi movies. And now, it had become a reality within the virtual world. What's more, the wielder of this power was Long Tian Yun's greatest enemy, Ling Tian. All of Ling Tian's enemies, even the alliance master of the Yan Huang Alliance, Long Tian Yun, shuddered upon seeing this scene, and felt fear and dread spread throughout their bodies. Young master, please don't worry, Flame Shadow deeply gulped and tried to find a reason to reassure Long Tian Yun and himself. Ling Tian evidently used some sort of item. For that item to be so powerful, it's impossible for there to be many of those items. Perhaps Ling Tian only has that one item. Moreover, our Yan Huang Alliance represents all of China and is the heart of China. If Ling Tian dares to attack our Yan Huang Alliance, he'll be making an enemy out of all of China. Plus, even if Ling Tian has more of those heaven-defying items, we don't need to worry. How can our Yan Huang Alliance be compared to the unsetting sun? Even if Ling Tian can destroy the unsetting sun, there's no way he could destroy our Yan Huang Alliance, which has extremely firm foundations. The only thing he'll receive is death. Long Tian Yun did not say anything as his eyes shone with ruthlessness and stared at the screen. The sweat gathering on his forehead did not stop for even an instant. After the new moon was recalled by Ling Chen, seeing the hellish scene around him, he began to laugh in delight. A single, moon sacrifice, had killed 50,000 Japanese players, including Yamamoto Michio. This had caused Ling Chen's EXP bar to rocket upwards. The final defensive door had also been destroyed, and the area within 200 meters of him had been completely devastated. Even if the unsetting sun could survive this disaster, they'd have to spend an astronomical fortune in repairs. Ling Chen's gaze fell on a building that had been half destroyed. A vicious look flashed in his eyes and he started to rush over to it as he ran over the corpses. His surroundings began to flash with white light, which indicated that the players killed by Moon Sacrifice were about to be revived. However, more than half of the players shivered at the revival point, not daring to return to where Ling Chen was. The pain they had felt before their deaths would leave a scar on their souls for the rest of their lives. The surviving players' faces all paled as they stared at Ling Chen with wide eyes. Seeing Ling Chen move like an otherworldly demonic god, not a single one of them dared to stop him. At this moment, Yamamoto Michio revived, and stared at the ruins for a few seconds before his face darkened and almost became purple. The muscles in his face twisted as he looked around for Ling Tian. By the time he had found him, he found that Ling Tian was charging towards a half-destroyed building, and was now only 10 steps away. Yamamoto Michio's head buzzed, and almost fainted as he hollered in a hoarse voice, "Stop him! Stop him!" It was a pity that they were much too late. Moreover, even if all of the surviving players rushed at Ling Chen, they simply wouldn't be able to stop him. All the players in Ling Chen's way were swept away like leaves as he rushed into the building. He immediately saw a gigantic sign inlaid with gold. The words "Unsetting Sun" were carved in large golden letters. Ling Chen walked over, raised the Great Ravager, and tapped it on the sign. If a guild's guild sign was destroyed, the guild would issue an announcement that the guild had been destroyed. Guild signs had high HP as well, and it was impossible for normal players to destroy them within a short period of time. However, with the Scorpio orb, Ling Chen could easily smash it with a casual swing of his weapons. Yamamoto Michio had never run so fast in his life before. As soon as he reached the entrance, he saw that Ling Chen had already placed his weapon on the guild sign. His face instantly fell and his heart rushed to his throat. He stopped running and cried out, "No! Please don't! LL Ling Tian, please put down your weapon. Let's talk this out. Please, no matter what, don't." Yamamoto Michio's voice began to tremble. If it was any other person who had their weapon on the guild sign, Yamamoto Michio wouldn't have felt so frightened. Instead, he would have immediately ordered people to surround them and kill them. However, he had seen Ling Tian destroy a LV5 defensive door in just 2 hits. Destroying a guild sign would be like cutting tofu to him. Ling Chen's hand did not move, and he smirked under the evil god's mask. "Yamamoto Michio, I actually didn't want to take such extreme measures. If I wanted to make life difficult for you, I could have done so from my very first day in the East Ocean continent. However, you've pushed me too far. You all sent countless people to chase after me, which is simply unacceptable. Although I'm a kind person, but even kind people can become angry, right? You? A kind person? Wouldn't everyone be angels then?" Since the life or death of the unsetting sun was in Ling Chen's hands, Yamamoto Michio didn't dare to refute him. Seeing that Ling Chen hadn't destroyed the guild sign yet, he inwardly sighed in relief and furiously nodded, yes, that's right. It's me who was in the wrong. I'm sorry for what I've done, I'll even kneel to apologize for my mistakes. Ling Tian, you're the #1 expert in China, no, the world. Please, there's no need for a mighty figure like you to bicker with normal people like us. As long as you have mercy on our unsetting sun this time, I promise that I'll never offend you again. And if anyone else dares to cause trouble for you in the East Ocean continent, we definitely won't let them off lightly." Currently, Yamamoto Michio was completely and utterly filled with regret. He had long since heard of how powerful China's Ling Tian was, but he had never put much thought to it. Why would the leader of Japan's #1 guild care about a lone wolf? However, Ling Tian's power had unimaginably surpassed anything he had experienced. He now realized that he had not offended a player, but a demon. Yamamoto Michio spoke extremely respectfully, in order to save the guild sign. He didn't dare to show even a bit of haughtiness or fury in his tone, and instead repeatedly begged Ling Chen to let it go. If this guild sign was destroyed, everything would be finished. Even if they could rebuild the unsetting sun, it would never be as powerful or glorious. Ling Chen laughed, Mr. Yamamoto, you're quite right. It's just that, you all tried to hunt me down, forcing me to come here, and now you want me to forgive you. If I just left like this, everyone would think that I'm afraid of your unsetting Sunday. This isn't too good for my reputation. You need to give me a good enough reason. To be able to lead Japan's #1 guild, Yamamoto Michio definitely wasn't an idiot. He understood the meaning in Ling Chen's words and let out a breath of relief inwardly. It seemed that the unsetting sun could be saved. He took a step forwards as he tentatively said, "The fault is mine, so Ling Tian, tell me what conditions you have. As long as we can meet them, we'll make sure you're 120% satisfied." "That's good," Ling Chen nodded in satisfaction. He then tilted his head back as he casually said, "To be frank with you, there's nothing in your guild that caught my eye. Your best equipment and items are just trash to me." Let's be practical. I'll give you 3 minutes to give me 1.5 billion gold. Once I receive the money, I'll immediately leave. If I don't receive it, this guild sign will be obliterated. 3 minutes? That's right, 3 minutes, starting from now. What, is there a problem? Ling Chen asked as the great Ravager in his hand gently tapped the guild sign again. No. Not a problem at all. Not at all. Yamamoto Michio hurriedly waved his hands as a wave of pain rolled through his heart. Not too long ago, he had mysteriously lost 2 billion gold, and now he was going to lose another 1.5 billion gold. Of course, for the unsetting sun to be so powerful, they had quite a lot of funds. However, even to a large guild, 1.5 billion gold was a huge figure. Nevertheless, he had no other choice. What are you all waiting for? Didn't you hear Ling Tian? Immediately exchange 1.5 billion gold. Hurry up. If you all can't prepare 1.5 billion gold within 3 minutes, don't expect to see the sun rise tomorrow. Ah, yes. Hearing Yamamoto Michio's roar, his aides behind him hurriedly picked up their communication devices and ran off. 2.5 minutes later, one of the aides came running back with sweat all over his forehead, yelling from the distance, "Alliance Master, the gold has been prepared. Don't give it to me, give it to Ling Tian. Hurry up." Above that person's head was the name, Yamamoto 17. Evidently, he was related to Yamamoto Michio in some way, seeing as he was in charge of the unsetting sun's finances. He ran to Ling Chen, but when he was 5 steps away, his legs started to shake. With great effort, he finally made it to 3 steps away from Ling Chen. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything. Ling Chen smirked and took a step forwards with the great Ravager still on the guild sign. He calmly said, "Transfer the 1.5 billion. Okay, Yamamoto 17 mechanically nodded, then opened his gold window. When he looked at the amount of gold he had, his entire body trembled as his eyes became as round as saucers and he felt as if the world was spinning. This was because the amount of gold his gold window displayed was a 0. Hurry up and take it out, you don't have much time left. Ling Chen frowned as he told Yamamoto 17 to hurry up. What are you waiting for? Immediately transfer to him the money. Hurry up. Seeing that Yamamoto 17 was standing there in a daze, Yamamoto Michio couldn't help but roar out in panic. Every inch of Yamamoto 17's body was trembling, and his face was as pale as a corpse. He turned around, crying out to Yamamoto Michio, "Gone, all of the gold. I definitely exchanged 1.5 billion gold, but it's gone." What? What did you say? Yamamoto Michio nearly coughed up blood. However, he suddenly realized something. He turned to look at Ling Chen as his expression became one of hatred and despair. "Ling Tian, gold definitely wouldn't disappear for no reason. The 2 billion gold that disappeared that day was definitely because of something Ling Tian did. And now, the exact same thing had happened. Yamamoto Michio knew that Yamamoto 17 was a careful person who would not be tempted by greed. That was why he was in charge of the unsetting sun's finances. As such, it definitely couldn't have been Yamamoto Michio who did something. Even if he was an idiot, Yamamoto Michio would be able to realize that Ling Tian had some way to steal money from other people. However, before Yamamoto Michio could say anything, Ling Tian started to shout in anger and disappointment, "Yamamoto Michio! I gave you face and a chance to save your guild, but you dared to toy around with me. In that case, I won't show any mercy. Time to destroy this unsetting sun." Ling Chen raised up the Great Ravager and smashed it down. Ling Chen attacked incredibly quickly, and before Yamamoto Michio and the others could even react or shout, the Great Ravager hit the guild sign. With the strong destruction effect from the Scorpio orb, a loud explosion sounded out as the guild sign flew into the air and split into more than 10 fragments. Ding! Japan Region Announcement. The number 1 guild, Unsetting Sun's guild sign has been destroyed, and the guild has been disbanded. The guild rankings have now been updated. Please view the guild rankings for the updated rankings. The moment the guild sign was destroyed, a system announcement rang out across all of the East Ocean continent, sounding like thunder in every player's ears. Crash! The cup in Long Tian Yun's hand fell to the ground and shattered as he trembled and stumbled backwards. Seeing that Long Tian Yun was about to fall backwards, Flame Shadow hurriedly went to support him, fearfully asking, "Young master, are you all right?" Long Tian Yun elbowed Flame Shadow away as he stared at the screen. Suddenly, he began to yell as if he was mad. Immediately lodge a complaint to the Cosmos Corporation. There's definitely a problem with guild's defense systems. How can someone destroy a LV5 defensive door in just 1 or 2 hits? This is definitely a bug. It's definitely a bug. Immediately lodge a complaint. And that AoE destructive item that Ling Tian used, no player should have that sort of item. It would destroy all balance in the game and destroy the game. Immediately complain, contact everyone possible, including the 10 biggest guilds in Japan, and get them to lodge complaints as well. Young master, please calm down, hurry up and do it. Yes, 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 Flame Shadow didn't dare to say anything else, and he hurriedly left. Long Tian Yun tightly gripped his hands into his fists, inducing cracking sounds, and his handsome face became incredibly savage. That nightmarish night had left a shadow in his heart relating to Ling Chen, and even now he still had nightmares. And now, the fear in his heart had become much greater. He had personally witnessed Ling Chen effortlessly destroy Japan's number 1 guild. Normal players were just like ants to him, and even a massive army couldn't withstand a single attack from him. He could also destroy a guild's strongest shields, the defensive doors, in just a few hits. In that case, if he wanted to destroy the Yan-Huang Alliance's defensive doors, it would be just as easy. He had easily destroyed everything around him in a large area, causing the deaths of tens of thousands of players. If he wanted to destroy the Yan-Huang Alliance, it would not be impossible at all. In fact, it would not even be difficult. The destruction of the Yan-Huang Alliance was not something Long Tian Yun had even considered before. After all, he did not believe there was something that could threaten the Yan-Huang Alliance. However, he now found that this could soon become a reality. Ling Tian had single-handedly destroyed Japan's number 1 guild, and he was his greatest enemy, the only person who had ever left such a shadow on him. As for Ling Tian, he also hated the Yan-Huang Alliance with every fiber of his being. Moreover, he was a madman. He was someone who did as he pleased. He didn't care at all about the consequences of destroying Japan's number 1 guild, so he probably held no reservations about destroying China's number 1 guild either. It was entirely possible that as soon as he came back from the East Ocean continent, he would come to take out his anger on the Yan-Huang Alliance. Ling Tian. I want you dead. Seeing Ling Chen destroy his guild sign, Yamamoto Michio felt as if his heart had been ripped apart. The terrible howl that came out of his mouth was like that of a wild beast's. He disregarded his life as he sprang towards Ling Chen, as if he wanted to bite off a chunk of his flesh. Ling Chen wildly laughed, and looked at the half-crazed Yamamoto Michio sympathetically. He smirked as he suddenly vanished. If Ling Tian didn't leave, but instead started to massacre everyone, even if Yamamoto Michio died, he would at least be able to vent his anger. However, now, all of the hatred and anger was stuck inside him, and his despair and devastation almost ripped his inner organs apart. He felt as if he was going to cough up blood, and he roared as he swung his limbs around, screaming, "Ling Tian! Our hatred is irreconcilable. I want to peel off your skin, drink your blood, and make you experience the cruelest torture in the world so you can never have peace, arg. All of you, hurry up and find Ling Tian. Destroy him at all costs." The current Yamamoto Michio had gone mad. Anyone, seeing their blood, sweat and tears being destroyed like that, would be unable to bear it. As the #1 guild in Japan, Yamamoto Michio put more than 80% of his own personal funds and efforts into the guild. Seeing the guild destroyed felt like he had lost half of himself. Behind him, one of the high-ranking players loudly said, "Alliance Master. Please calm down. We're in a crisis, so you must maintain your cool. Right now isn't the time to look for Ling Tian and seek revenge. Even if we do find him, we can't do anything to him. Right now, we should be calming everyone down and rebuilding the unsetting sun. As long as the players haven't scattered yet, we can return to our former glory. Alliance Master, please stay calm." His words were like a bucket of cold water poured over Yamamoto Michio, calming him down. After all, he was the Alliance Master of the #1 guild in Japan, and he gradually settled down. However, his face was still pale and twisted as he gnashed his teeth, saying, "Yes, you're right. Immediately notify all of the elders, lords and captains to assemble all of their subordinates. Even if they can't gather everyone, try to gather as many as possible. Think of ways to calm everyone down, quickly go." Roger. Yamamoto Michio looked at the ruins around him in a daze, then powerlessly fell to the ground. Not too long after, the leader of Japan's #1 guild, one of the grandest figures in Japan, began to weep. He was filled with hatred, despair, as well as regret. If he had another chance, even if he was cursed at by the rest of the Japanese players, he definitely wouldn't have offended Ling Tian. Having destroyed the unsetting sun, Ling Chen's objective was complete, and he did not waste any more time on them. Of course, he had earned quite a bit from that. Looking at the extra 1.5 billion gold in his account, he smiled gleefully. His lucky hand was now max level, and could steal 80 to 100% of a target's gold. With his ridiculously high luck, he would definitely steal all of a normal player's gold. Earning 1.5 billion gold for his efforts, what a profitable transaction. Now, he had nearly 15 billion gold on him. It was probably impossible for him and Tian to spend this much money. How could he only take this sort of profitable transaction just once? Half an hour later, Ling Chen sauntered to another place. He looked at the big sign hanging above the main entrance, Black Dragon Guild. This was the place. Ling Chen evilly laughed and shot like an arrow towards main door, smashing a Ling Tian / towards it. The LV5 main door was instantly covered by more than 10 long cracks, and Ling Chen yelled, "Ling Tian's here. Black Dragon Guild's trash, hurry and come out to receive your guest." Ling Tian destroying the unsetting sun by himself in less than 15 minutes had spread across all of Japan by now, sending massive waves in the virtual world. The Black Dragon Guild's president, Shoifuku, was sitting on a chair in the main hall, full of anxiety. When the alarm sounded out and people scrambled in, he almost fell off the chair. "Quick! Everyone come with me to meet Ling Tian. Immediately notify everyone, no one's allowed to attack Ling Tian. No one's allowed to attack. Execute anyone who dares to attack. In the few seconds that it took Shoifuku to speak, his body had already become covered with sweat. It was likely that the amount of sweat that he was excreting now exceeded even the amount he had sweated throughout his entire life. He felt as if his footsteps were incredibly light as he led the rest of the Black Dragon Guild's high-ranking players to the main door. No one dared to raise any objections to Shoifuku's order to not attack Ling Chen, and instead wholeheartedly agreed. Attack? What a joke! Even the unsetting sun had been destroyed in 15 minutes. If even the unsetting sun couldn't do anything to Ling Tian, what was the point in them resisting? Shoifuku came to the main entrance feeling extremely fearful and anxious the entire way. Seeing that Ling Tian didn't look like he wanted to have a massive fight, he felt a bit better, but looking at the cracks on the main door, his legs trembled. The rumors were completely true. In just a short period of time, the LV5 main door had become like this. If he wanted to destroy this main door, it would be child's play for him. Shoifuku had also heard that Ling Tian had casually ravaged the entire unsetting sun's headquarters. However, this time, he had only attacked the main door, and seemed to have stopped, as if he was waiting for him. Shoifuku steeled himself and walked out, and immediately saw Ling Chen. He was holding his famous weapons, standing there unmoving. Around him was a large crowd of Black Dragon Guild players, all of whom looked terrified. Shoifuku looked around him as he furiously shouted, "You bastards, what are you doing? Put your weapons down. You should be welcoming our guest. Who told you to welcome our guest like this? Hurry up and put your weapons down." Hearing Shoifuku roar out, the Black Dragon Guild players all put their weapons away, then retreated a few steps. Shoifuku squeezed out an ugly smile and carefully walked towards Ling Chen as he acted incredibly subserviently, "So it's brother Ling Tian who has come to visit. I'm terribly sorry to make you wait. Please don't take those bastards' impoliteness to heart." "Of course not. I'm quite magnanimous, so I won't take those things to heart," Ling Chen said smilingly. As the leader of Japan's number 2 guild, he had countless admirers. When had he ever acted so lowly before? Of course, Ling Chen knew why Shoifuku, who had always been gnashing his teeth at him, acted in such a humble manner. Evidently, he had been scared by what had happened to the unsetting sun. "President Shoi, do you know why I've come here?" Shoifuku's entire back was covered with sweat. He hurriedly replied, "You're our esteemed guest, and for you to come here is our honor. No matter why you've come here, we wholeheartedly welcome you." "Since President Shoi has said that, I can be at ease," Ling Chen smirked under his mask as he said, "I'm sure you all know that I just destroyed your Japan's number 1 guild, the Unsetting Sun. That Yamamoto Michio tried to make trouble for me from the very first day I arrived here, and tried to hunt me down for 2 months. Based on my Chinese values of forbearance brings peace and calm, take a step back and the world will be much calmer, being lenient with others, using different means to achieve the same result, treating others with harmony and affection, being willing to help others and study hard every day and you will improve." I endured and endured. However, Yamamoto Michio was simply too outrageous. Even if I could endure, my little friends can't. As such, I could only destroy the unsetting sun. Does President Shoi think I went overboard? Overboard? No, not at all. Shoifuku's face was filled with righteous indignation. Our Japan has always been a country of etiquette and propriety. The way we treat players from other countries should be like how we treat our own brothers. That Yamamoto Michio actually treated our esteemed guest in such a way. He's a vile and heartless person, all of us are ashamed of him. You did the right thing. Our Black Dragon Guild wasn't happy with him either, and wanted to destroy the unsetting sun since 10 years ago. Not only did brother Ling Tian not go overboard, it was also a delight to all of us. These words almost caused the Black Dragon Guild's players to vomit, who was it that sent a quarter of his players to hunt down Ling Tian? Who was it that cursed at Ling Tian? Shoifuku had initially acted towards Ling Tian in almost the same way as Yamamoto Michio. However, he was being so respectful that it was as if Ling Tian was his father. Moreover, saying that all of us are ashamed of him sounded like he was slapping himself in the face. However, facing Ling Tian, what else could he do? The unsetting sun was already a bloody example of what could happen to them. Looking at the half-destroyed main door, every person drew in a breath of cold air. There was simply no one more thick-skinned than Shoifuku. Ling Tian inwardly sighed in amazement as he continued to speak, since President Shoi says so, then I'm at ease. In that case, I'll be direct with you. He looked up towards the sign above the main entrance, saying, before, the unsetting sun was the #1 guild. Although your Black Dragon Guild is quite strong, it was always the second-ranked guild. On the guild rankings, you were also #2, hee. It must have sucked to always be #2 despite putting in so much effort, right? However, the unsetting sun is finished. Even if they rebuild, they'll be completely useless. From now on, your Black Dragon Guild will undeniably be the #1 guild. If you look at the guild rankings, you'll also see your #1 there. This is because of all of my efforts. If it wasn't for me, you guys definitely would not have been able to enjoy this glory. Ah, yes. Shoifuku repeatedly performed 90-degree bows, with an extremely thankful expression, as if he was about to cry, our Black Dragon Guild is indeed the #1 guild right now. This is the greatest glory I've received in my life. I'm extremely grateful towards Brother Ling Tian. I'll remember this kindness for the rest of my life. I, Shoifuku, announce that from now on, Brother Ling Tian is our Black Dragon Guild's most esteemed friend. If Brother Ling Tian needs anything, we'll definitely immediately come to help. No matter how difficult it is, we won't even frown. Since you can say such touching words, why not take out some practical gifts? For example, gold, Ling Chen said as he stretched out his hand, a wide smile on his face. Shoifuku wouldn't have to worry about Ling Tian stealing his gold if he showed everyone his gold while he was far away. Seeing that Ling Tian had made such a promise in front of so many people, Shoifuku was at ease. After all, Ling Tian was China's #1 expert. He wouldn't tell such a blatant lie in front of so many people. Hearing Ling Tian's words, Shoifuku quickly thought, then hurriedly said, "What are you saying? Ling Tian, you're a super expert, so I'm sure your words carry as much weight as mountains. There's nothing for me to be afraid of. How much gold would satisfy you?" Ling Chen pretended to be deep in thought, then stretched out a finger. "I'm not a greedy person, I'm not trying to take advantage of your Black Dragon Guild. It's just that I'm afraid that if I don't do this, your Black Dragon Guild will feel that you owe me too much and be unable to be at ease. In that case, just 1 billion gold. 1 billion gold? Sure. Shoifuku's heart ached, but this amount was fairly reasonable. At least, it was less than what he had expected. As long as he could protect the Black Dragon Guild from the unsetting sun's outcome, even if it was an unreasonable price, he would grit his teeth and accept it. Shoifuku immediately ordered his subordinates to transfer 1 billion gold. With his prior experience, he didn't go near to Ling Chen, but instead opened up his gold window, revealing how much gold he had. It was exactly 1 billion gold. "Everyone, please look, I have 1 billion gold on me. This is the reward for Brother Ling Tian's efforts. After transferring it to him, I'll open my gold window again for everyone to see," Shoifuku loudly said. Shoifuku made it sound as if he was doing this to prove he wasn't cheating Ling Tian, but everyone knew the true reason behind his words. After saying this, he carefully walked towards Ling Chen. This time, Ling Chen did not use lucky hand. Instead, he received the gold from Shoifuku through a normal transaction. Instantly, his account increased by another 1 billion gold. After coming to the East Ocean continent, not only had he obtained 2 god orbs, but had also earned more than 15 billion gold. Ling Chen almost exclaimed in joy. He looked up at the sky, marveling at this treasure trove. He almost wasn't willing to leave anymore. After transferring the money, Shoifuku let out a long breath and retreated a few steps. He then showed everyone his gold window, which now displayed a 0. He loudly stated, "The 1 billion gold has now been transferred to Brother Ling Tian, not a bit less. Everyone has seen this. Brother Ling Tian, are you satisfied with this reward?" Ling Chen looked at the amount of gold he had, and nodded, "Yes, I'm very satisfied." That's good," Shoifuku nodded and bowed subserviently, and then wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Inwardly, he was overjoyed that they had avoided such a huge catastrophe. Losing money and some dignity was worth it. He nervously asked, then, "Brother Ling Tian, do you have anything else to do, or would you like to take a tour of our Black Dragon Guild?" "A tour? No need." The weapons that Ling Chen had put away reappeared in his hands, and his casual tone became cold and malicious. "Your Black Dragon Guild is about to be eradicated, I'm not interested in touring some ruins." As he spoke, before anyone could react, Ling Chen's body forwards with a moment of elegance, and instantly reached the half-destroyed main door. He then sent a 1,000-kilogram rend, hurtling towards it. Boom! The incredibly sturdy defensive door was blown apart like a plank of rotten wood, and fragments of it fell all around Ling Chen. The Black Dragon Guild players cried out in shock and horror, and Shoifuku's rosy complexion became pale as a sheet. He pointed at Ling Chen as he hollered, "Ling Tian. Didn't you say that you would leave after taking the 1 billion gold? What the hell are you doing? Could it be that the mighty Ling Tian is such a lying and vile scoundrel? Didn't you say that you viewed promises to be as important as your life?" Ling Chen glanced at him and slowly replied, "That's right. I said that I view promises to be as important as my own life, but only when they're made to people on my side. Don't tell me that you think you're on my side? Damn, let alone me, even the pigs in the world wouldn't believe such a thing. You, Ling Tian. I'll kill you." Shoifuku finally understood that his humility and servility had been completely in vain. This demon who had unsympathetically destroyed the unsetting sun wouldn't show any pity or mercy. In front of him, harboring any hope would simply result in them suffering more humiliation. This was the lesson he had learned from paying 1 billion gold. He no longer held any hope as he screamed, ordering the Black Dragon Guild players to charge and attack. At this point, they had to destroy Ling Tian, or else it would be their Black Dragon Guild that would be destroyed. Ha ha ha. As Ling Chen wildly laughed, he activated Moon Grief and boldly charged into the crowd of players who now posed no threat to him at all. He continued to rush forwards at a shocking speed, completely disregarding everyone. Very soon, the second defensive door was obliterated by 2 Ling Tian slashes from Ling Chen. Not long after, the third and fourth defensive doors were also destroyed. Up to then, only a single minute had passed. By the time Ling Chen had charged to the fifth defensive door, Shoifuku's throat had become completely hoarse and his expression, incredibly savage. Seeing Ling Chen walk closer and closer to the Black Dragon Guild sign, he couldn't help but howl. He now experienced the same despair and hopelessness that Yamamoto Michio had. The incredibly tough and sturdy defensive doors were like tofu to Ling Chen, and even tens of thousands of players couldn't threaten him at all, let alone kill him. When he saw a new moon slowly rise into the air, his face lost all of its color. His mouth opened, but in his fear, he wasn't able to make a sound. "Goodbye, Black Dragon Guild." Ling Chen laughed as he raised his right hand and a silver light shot to the sky, activating Moon Sacrifice. Under the light from Moon Sacrifice, the central area of the Black Dragon Guild became like that of the unsetting suns, turning into a hellish scene. Within the area covered by the moonlight, the players all perished, and the buildings and ground were all completely ravaged. The last defensive door was destroyed, and even the guild sign shattered from the damage it took. A system announcement, like a sharp blade, pierced into every Black Dragon Guild player's ears, and sounded like thunder in every other Japanese player's ears. Ding! Japan Region Announcement. The Black Dragon Guild sign has been destroyed, and the guild has been disbanded. The guild rankings have now been updated. Please view the guild rankings for the updated rankings. After destroying the Black Dragon Guild, Ling Chen quickly left, not giving them any chance to seek revenge on him. He left behind him ruins and howls. With another 1 billion gold in his pockets and being able to destroy another guild, Ling Chen was quite joyful. He concealed himself, and set out for his next target. After the Unsetting Sun and Black Dragon Guild were destroyed, the number 3 guild, the Grand Alliance, became the number 1 guild. It had always been Saji Masao's dream for his guild to become the number 1 guild. However, now that it had become a reality, he simply couldn't feel happy at all. Instead, he felt incredibly nervous and waves of coldness washed over him, because the guilds that had tried to hunt Ling Tian down also included his Grand Alliance. As he worried and fretted, a system announcement suddenly sounded in his ears. Ding! Warning! Your guild is currently being attacked, please quickly return to defend it. This system announcement caused Saji Masao's body to stiffen, and in the next second, an incredibly loud voice shouted out, Ling Tian's here. Grand Alliance's trash, get out here to receive your visitor. Saji Masao's vision darkened and he almost fell to the ground. All of his anxiety had become despair. If Ling Tian could destroy even the Unsetting Sun and Black Dragon Guild, his Grand Alliance, which was weaker than both of them, stood no chance. 10 minutes later. Ding! Japan Region Announcement. The Grand Alliance's guild sign has been destroyed, and the guild has been disbanded. The guild rankings have now been updated. Please view the guild rankings for the updated rankings. In a single morning, in less than 2 hours, the 3 most powerful guilds in Japan had been destroyed by Ling Tian. 2 hours, 1 person, and it was in the East Ocean continent. When the news spread out, the rest of the world was completely dumbfounded. The news about Ling Chen destroying the top 3 Japanese guilds by himself completely shook the entire virtual world. When most players heard about this, they simply couldn't believe it. However, after they watched the recording, they all screamed and cried out. As for the victim, Japan, the players there also had extremely strong reactions. All of the players banded together, and mustered all of their forces to hunt down and kill Ling Tian. Of course, this was the only thing they could do to salvage what little of their reputation they had left. Since Ling Tian had entered the East Ocean continent, they had tried to hunt him down. Now, he was still there, while the Japanese players suffered the greatest catastrophe in virtual gaming history. If their attempts to find Ling Tian and kill him were of any use, they wouldn't have been reduced to this state. The teams that hunted for Ling Tian were probably praying that they didn't even see him. Of course, the largest reaction was to denounce and condemn Ling Tian. Even the Japanese government protested and condemned Ling Tian, as they called this an incredibly serious crime which caused damage to Japanese property and psychological trauma to players. The Japanese government also pressured the Chinese government and Cosmos Corporation, asking them to publicly reveal Ling Tian's real-life identity and compensate the Japanese players for their loss. They also wanted him to be stripped of the right to enter the virtual world again. In response, the Chinese government stayed silent, and completely ignored them. What a joke! The high-ranking members of the Long family all clearly knew that Ling Tian was Ling Chen. They had made him a national fugitive, but they still couldn't find him. Even if they agreed with the Japanese, they simply couldn't do anything to him. Moreover, this player had shaken the world, and he was from China. This raised the morale and confidence of every Chinese player, and Ling Tian occupied an incredibly important place in their hearts. If the Chinese government overtly acted against Ling Tian, the massive Chinese player base would retaliate, which would lead to unimaginable consequences. As for the Cosmos Corporation, they also initially stayed silent. However, after they were given more and more pressure from Japan, and more than 10 other countries, as well as even some large guilds from China, they created a response. Those countries all claimed that Ling Tian must have discovered some sort of bug, as it was impossible that the defensive doors could be destroyed so easily. As such, they asked for Ling Tian's character to be deleted. The Cosmos Corporation replied that there were no bugs in the Mystic Moon world, and that they did not have the right to share Ling Tian's stats. They also stated that a possibility for why Ling Tian could destroy those defensive doors so easily was because he might have obtained the ability to add a destruction effect to his attacks, and a very strong destruction effect at that. Normally, such a power shouldn't be wielded by a player, but nothing was impossible. If Ling Tian truly did obtain that power, it would have been through fate and hard work, and the Cosmos Corporation had no right to take that away from him. After that, no matter how much the countries or guilds clamored, the Cosmos Corporation did not make any further statements. Finally, the Cosmos Corporation had had enough and sent out warnings. Faced with the warnings from the controllers of the Second World, the countries and guilds could only give up. In actuality, the Cosmos Corporation also felt quite powerless. They only had basic managerial powers, and didn't have any access to the game's information. Let alone anyone else, even they wanted to see Ling Tian's stats, but they simply didn't have the rights. They knew that a single person controlled the Mystic Moon world, a genius called the Father of the Virtual World, Lawrence. However, he announced that after launching Mystic Moon, he would stay at home and would not be involved in anything, and didn't mention Mystic Moon even once. What was even worse was that he didn't even tell anyone where Mystic Moon's servers were located. As such, even within the Cosmos Corporation, the Mystic Moon world was shrouded in secrecy. However, its success was apparent for all to see. Every aspect, especially its graphics, were simply perfect and completely eclipsed its predecessors. The scenery, bodies, water, wind, flames, and people, made it difficult for players to believe that this was just a virtual world. It was important to note that before Mystic Moon, the highest degree of similarity to the real world in the virtual world was 96%. However, no matter how high the similarity was, it simply couldn't compare to the real world. And yet, the Mystic Moon world had accomplished this. Ling Chen, who had blocked off all external communication, didn't know just how much he had shaken the world. Even if he did, he wouldn't have cared about it at all. For him to do this, he simply didn't care about the consequences. He was already a national fugitive in China. Why would he be afraid of a measly Japan? It was just that he had messed with the Japanese players to take out his anger towards them, as well as earn some pocket money. Before obtaining the Scorpio orb, he had never considered destroying the top 3 guilds, and neither did he have the ability. However, with the powerful Scorpio orb, the guild's powerful defenses were non-existent to him. With the Scorpio orb, he could destroy a defensive door that would take tens of thousands of people a significant period of time to destroy in a matter of 2 hits. If he didn't have the Scorpio orb, even if his attack power was doubled, it would be impossible for him to destroy the defensive doors so easily while surrounded. The true reason he had done all of this was to force the Cherry Blossom God representative out. However, it would be difficult to achieve this through using just players. As a Moon God representative, she didn't involve herself in battles between players. But if it was something else, killing NPCs? That probably wouldn't force her out either, but would cause him to draw an incredible amount of aggro as well as bring a disaster to him. Then, what about the city? As he stood in a shadowy corner in the Sunrise City, a plan slowly developed within Ling Chen's mind. He evilly laughed as he softly said, "Ling Er, let's play a game." "A game?" Ling Er's body appeared, with a look of confusion in her black eyes as she looked at him expectantly. Ling Chen slightly leaned forward, and nodded as he said, it's a very fun game. Ling Er, you like the undead, right? Things like skeletons, which there were many of where we first met. Ling Er thought for a moment before hesitantly replying in a small voice, "I like them, then let's play an undead game. I'll kill people, and Ling Er will summon undead from them. We'll compete to see if I can kill people faster or if Ling Er can summon undead faster. We'll play from today till tomorrow. If Ling Er wins, I'll reward Ling Er with 10 cute dolls. If Ling Er loses, I'll only give Ling Er 1 doll. Do you want to play?" Ling Er still felt a bit confused, because she had never played this sort of game before. However, she was deeply attracted by the word doll. With the temptation of winning 10 dolls if she won and receiving 1 doll if she lost, she simply couldn't say no. She gently nodded her head. "If I win, will I really get 10 dolls?" "Of course. I've never lied to Ling Er before, let's start now then." Ling Chen disguised himself as he entered a potion shop and bought a big bag of purple potions. He was now incredibly wealthy, and did not feel any pain even when buying the advanced MP potions that cost 5 silver coins each. Ling Chen headed north and chose a good place. When he stopped, he found his first unfortunate target. This place was close to the player's residential district, and there weren't many people around. The atmosphere here was fairly quiet. In front of Ling Chen, a fat person and a skinny person were walking together. They weren't carrying any weapons, but from their attire, it was evident that one was an archer and the other was a mage, both of which were battle professions. Ling Chen didn't want to listen to what they were talking about, and immediately rushed up to them. The two people saw a black figure flash in front of them, and before they could react, Ling Chen's attacks quickly fell upon their bodies. "It's your honor to be the first experiments," Ling Chen expressionlessly said. 2 howls pierced through the air, and traveled quite far. Ling Chen immediately heard many footsteps run towards him. He looked at the 2 Japanese players' corpses on the ground as he said in a low voice, "Ling Er, it's your turn. If you're too slow, you'll lose." Just as Ling Chen spoke, Ling Er's eyes flashed with a strange black light. Immediately, 2 grayish-blackish balls of smoke floated up from the 2 corpses. 2 illusory skeletons also started to rise up, and by the time they were standing, they had become corporeal. One was holding a long bow and the other was holding a silver short staff. Undead Archer A, Type, Undead, Level, LV 40, HP, 3500, an undead archer summoned by the undead aura released from Person A's corpse. Holds a normal underworld long bow, and has the same level and profession as Person A. Undead Mage B, Type, Undead, Level, LV 39, HP 2800, an undead mage summoned by the undead aura released from Person B's corpse. Can cast low-level darkness magic, and has the same level and profession as Person B. Skeletons. What's going on? Why are there monsters in the city? A few Japanese players appeared in his field of vision. The instant they saw the skeleton soldiers, they all cried out in fear, unable to believe their eyes. This was human territory, and moreover was even a main city. It should be impossible for there to be monsters here. As they stared in disbelief, the skeleton soldiers showed no courtesy and attacked. They despised living beings, and as they approached, the undead archer strung its bow and shot 3 arrows surrounded by a black gas towards the players. Faced with the skeleton soldiers' attack, the 3 players all cried out in shock. The player in the middle was hit by the 3 arrows, and his body froze as he died instantly. Seeing this, the other 2 players turned and ran. Ling Chen looked at their equipment and deduced that they were trade profession players. After all, a portion of the players in the residential district were non-battle profession players. Facing these skeleton soldiers, the trade profession players had no way to retaliate or survive. Moreover, to be able to own a private dwelling in the virtual world, they were probably from rich families. These sorts of players like to enjoy the pleasures of the virtual world but dislike to train, and their financial conditions allowed them to stay far ahead of other normal players. There was one thing they all had in common: they all feared death. As the two skeleton soldiers ran off further into the city, cries sounded out from the direction the two skeleton soldiers ran off in. Ling Chen evilly smiled, and his body gradually disappeared as he entered into stealth. He didn't choose the residential district for no reason. After all, there were only players here, so he didn't have to worry about accidentally killing NPCs. The skeleton soldiers wouldn't bother them either. Otherwise, if the skeleton soldiers killed NPCs, the consequences would be disastrous for him. There weren't that many players in the residential district, which was convenient for Ling Chen. He went in and out of stealth, killing Japanese players as he saw them, and showed no mercy at all. Immediately afterwards, a skeleton soldier with the same profession would rise up from their corpses. Under normal circumstances, Ling Chen's movement speed was 238. After killing someone, he would immediately retreat. By the time other players yelled and charged over, they would see the ground littered with corpses, as well as skeleton soldiers who would brandish their weapons and run towards them. At the same time, a variety of skeleton soldiers would also charge at them from other directions. Ling Chen slaughtered his way from the residential district's south side to the north side, and then back from the north side to the south side. In a single trip, he had killed countless players, and a skeleton soldier was summoned by Leng'er from each corpse. It cost Leng'er 100 MP to summon a skeleton soldier, and she didn't have any abilities to quickly recover her MP. As such, Ling Chen continuously fed her purple potions to help her recover her MP. By the time Ling Chen finally stopped to rest, the residential district was in complete chaos. The residential district, which should have been an absolutely safe zone, was filled with monstrous skeletons with extremely high attack power. It was evident how much shock, fear and chaos they would bring. Ling Chen rose up and stood on a fairly tall construction, and smiled as he looked at the chaotic residential district. At a glance, there were skeletons roaming everywhere, and chasing screaming players all around. Some were casually walking around, while others were surrounded by battle profession players who were fighting with them. Why are there monsters here? What's going on? Quickly call reinforcements. There are more and more skeletons, and we can't hold on for much longer. Where did these skeletons come from? This is a main city. Hurry, go and ask for help from the Lord. The usually calm and peaceful residential district became a place of panic and disorder. The skeletons weren't that hard to kill, but their appearance caused the players to have a lapse from shock and dismay for a long time. Monsters had actually appeared in the residential district of a main city. Moreover, they looked so terrifying. How were people supposed to continue living in the residential district after this? After he admired the chaotic scene, Ling Chen grinned as he said in a low voice, "This is just the beginning." At this moment, his gaze shifted towards the north. There were 3 large waves of players rushing over, and the players in the residential district all yelled in joy that the reinforcements had arrived. These 3 waves of players were massive, with each of them containing at least 10,000 people. Ling Chen's eyes narrowed as he grinned even wider, and he lifted his right hand. A new moon slowly rose into the air as he muttered, "It's good that you've come. Leng'er, the real competition begins now." Ling Chen activated Vanishing Shadow, and activated Spread Wings. He hovered in the air as he looked at the 3 waves of players. He couldn't activate any skills while using Vanishing Shadow, but he could maintain skills that he had already activated. With his incredibly high movement speed, he soon came to a position directly above the 3 waves of players. He lowered himself downwards as he appeared with his two dark golden wings spread wide open. Ling! Ling Tian! A chorus of cries of shock as well as sharp inhales of breaths resounded through the waves. The name of Ling Tian, who had single-handedly destroyed Japan's top 3 guilds, had become a synonym for demon, and an invincible demon at that. Seeing him, even the 30,000 players were seized with fear. Although the two sides had a great disparity in numbers, they did not feel safe at all. For him to be able to destroy Japan's top 3 guilds in just a short period of time, 30,000 players were nothing to him. Quickly notify all of the large guilds. Ling Tian has appeared. He's in the city. Hurry. Ling Chen coldly looked at the ruckus below him, and slowly spread out his hands as he icily spoke. My Japanese friends, you are all very lucky, because you're about to become the main characters of this undead banquet, ha 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 ha. The wild laughter caused everyone to feel uneasy. However, by the time they sensed something was wrong and looked up, the all-encompassing silver light had already fallen towards them. Countless sharp screams instantly shook the heavens and the earth, creating a symphony of death. These 3 waves were probably from the same guild, or were led by some important and awe-inspiring figure. This was because after coming together, they combined to form orderly ranks, and were gathered quite densely. The number of targets, moon sacrifice, covered was far fewer than when Ling Chen had cast it at the large guilds, but it was still quite a large figure. Nearly half of the 30,000 players were covered by the silver moonlight and died. They fell to the ground and carpeted the ground with corpses. The players in the distance who weren't covered by the moonlight were completely shocked. Some fell to the ground, and their teeth chattered as they cried out in shock. They had heard that Ling Tian had a skill that he could instantly cast, and could destroy and kill targets within a large AoE. However, hearing about it and personally seeing it were 2 completely different things. Immediately, an even more inconceivable scene greeted their eyes. Grey fog began to rise from the corpse on the ground, and illusory figures of skeleton soldiers began to stand up. By the time they had fully stood up, they became corporeal. Leng'er's maximum MP was now 5,000, and when she had full MP, she could summon 50 skeletons. However, even the best MP potions from the potion shop could only recover 400 MP every 5 seconds, which wasn't enough to support Leng'er's mass summoning. As such, Ling Chen didn't hesitate to take out a Dew of Dusk to give to Leng'er to drink, and with the effect from Fairy's Blessing, Leng'er was able to recover 2,600 MP every second. With Leng'er's terrifying summoning speed, 26 skeletons rose per second, which then rushed towards the dumbfounded players. While the skeleton soldiers continuously spawned and stood up, Ling Chen quickly rushed towards the frightened Japanese players. He swung and slashed his great Ravager and Twilight Spear, and caused many deaths and cries of anguish with each attack, as well as heaps of corpses. With countless corpses, unlimited MP sustenance and a reward of 10 dolls, Leng'er did her best to summon them as quickly as she could. Because of this, there were more and more skeleton soldiers, some of them killed players, some of them were quickly surrounded by players, others rushed into the other parts of the residential district, and still others rushed towards the heart of the city. At a rate of summoning 26 skeleton soldiers per second, 10 minutes later, Ling Chen had spent 60 drops of Dew of Dusk and Leng'er had summoned more than 10,500 skeleton soldiers. They all dispersed and charged in different directions to different parts of Sunrise City, and their numbers continuously increased. In just 10 minutes, Leng'er had created a skeleton army with more than 10,000 skeletons. Even Ling Chen shivered when he thought about Leng'er's ability. Despite this, being able to create so many skeleton soldiers in such a short period of time was enough to throw Sunrise City into complete chaos. There have been some skeleton monsters who have entered the marketplace, and numbered about 500. They caused great panic, but were quickly killed by some high-leveled players. Some of them also disappeared by themselves. About 300 skeleton monsters intruded into the amusement park. Although they were quickly defeated, more than 200 low-leveled players and non-battle profession players died, and many players were given a fright. The amusement park has currently been temporarily shut down. The origins of the skeleton monsters are being investigated, but it is confirmed that they are somehow related to the Chinese player, Ling Tian. Currently, the skeleton monsters are still continuously spawning, but the rate has greatly decreased. In the north of the city, the attacks towards Ling Tian are ongoing. Although our side has many players, we have been unable to do anything to Ling Tian, and have suffered heavy losses. We need more players to come support them. Players have already reported the matter regarding the skeleton monsters to the Lord's residence. For monsters to appear in a main city, that is a great dereliction of the Lord's duties. As such, the Lord has no reason not to help us. We hope that we can use this opportunity to chase Ling Tian out of the Sunrise City forever. The entirety of the Sunrise City had fallen into chaos and disorder because of the skeleton monsters, and the media continuously made reports. After expending large quantities of the Dew of Dusk, Ling Chen's heart started to ache. Kair had given him 200 drops, and it wouldn't be worth it to use them all here. Ling Chen's surroundings were covered with corpses, and there was a massive encirclement of Japanese players around him. However, all they did was stand around them, not even one of them dared to come up, and some of them were shaking. Half of the 30,000-person army had been instantly annihilated by him, and the rest were slaughtered as their group was thrown into complete disarray. The screams those players had let out as they died caused them to completely quake in their shoes. These players had formed this large encirclement, with Ling Tian as their only target, but not a single person could dare to go up and attack him. They could only grit their teeth and stand their ground, praying that reinforcements would come soon. Their reinforcements came much faster than they had expected. In front of Ling Chen, 2 rays of silver light suddenly appeared, which revealed 2 people wearing silver armor and carrying large silver machetes. They were dressed in similar attire, and even looked quite similar. The one on the left took a step forwards, loudly saying, "Ling Tian. We've confirmed that the appearance of the skeletons in the Sunrise City has to do with you. The skeletons you summoned have brought disaster to the entire city, and caused many people's deaths and trauma. What you've done is unforgivable. Although you're a player from another world, we must severely punish such evil actions. We will now arrest you and jail you for 5 years. This is the harshest punishment we can give you players. Come with us obediently. If you resist, we'll immediately execute you and increase your punishment." These 2 people were the city guards who protected the order of the Sunrise City. Their arrival caused the trembling Japanese players to beam with wide smiles. The pressure they felt completely disappeared, and they almost cheered with joy. These were the Sunrise City's city guards. They wore silver armor, and although they weren't the most powerful type of city guards, they were at least LV-83 star elites. To normal players, Ling Tian was invincible, but he couldn't act arrogant in front of them. Even if he really did have the power to fight them, fighting against the Lord of the city's forces was incredibly serious. In the virtual world, no one had ever defied the Lord's power before. And these 2 city guards had said, they were going to jail Ling Tian for 5 years. This would destroy him. This was the best thing that had happened ever since Ling Tian had entered the East Ocean continent. However, Ling Chen didn't seem surprised at all. He had originally wanted to keep the skeleton soldiers concentrated in the residential district, but he couldn't control them. As more and more skeleton soldiers spawned, the situation spiraled out of control, and it was not just players who were affected anymore. As such, Ling Chen wasn't surprised that it had come to this. If this was in the Forgotten Continent, he would be facing a massive problem. However, this was the East Ocean continent. So what if he was wanted throughout the entire continent? Facing the 2 silver city guards, Ling Chen laughed, "You want to arrest me? I feel you don't have the ability to do so." As he spoke, his hands abruptly moved, and sent 2 Ling Tian slashes, like bolts of lightning towards the city guards. His attack was simply too fast, and the city guards who were standing so close simply didn't expect him to attack. The city guards were blown away as they were hit squarely in the chest. 11 56211 549. Arg! Two loud thuds sounded out, as well as ghastly howls. These two city guards had arrested countless players in the past, but had never been attacked before. In their eyes, these weak players didn't have the strength nor the courage to resist, let alone attack them. They never expected Ling Tian to attack them so decisively, and the instant his attack hit them, the incomparable pain almost caused them to faint. The power from the attack also greatly exceeded what they expected, and the shockwave caused their bodies to shoot out and crash 5 meters away. The pain caused them to roll around on the ground, unable to stand up. Ha ha ha. Weren't you going to arrest me? And yet, you're all so weak. This is too hilarious. As Ling Chen wildly laughed, he spread his icy gold wings, and sped towards the north. Since he had attacked the city guards, trouble would come wave after wave now. It would be best to leave as soon as possible. After all, NPCs weren't pushovers like players. The Silver City Guards looked in the direction Ling Chen had flown in, and took out the communication devices as they painfully said, "We were attacked by Ling Tian when we went to arrest him. He's far more powerful than we expected, and we need reinforcements. He's able to fly, so we need Golden God archers. Moreover, he can summon undead creatures, so he probably has a darkness profession. We need enough light mages." Seeing Ling Tian easily take out the two city guards, the surrounding Japanese players were all dumbfounded. No one had the guts to attack city guards, and it was impossible that there was a second person who could do such a thing. However, they then became extremely delighted. Now that Ling Tian had attacked the city guards, the situation had become much worse for him. Ling Tian would now be hunted down by all of the Sunrise City's forces. Unsurprisingly, after Ling Chen had traveled less than 200 meters, many golden figures suddenly appeared below him. 10 or so icy auras locked onto him, which caused him to stop flying. Ling Chen looked down and saw 12 city guards dressed in golden light armor. All of them were holding strong bows with golden arrows that glimmered with a cold light. From the auras that had locked onto him, Ling Chen could determine just how powerful these archers were. From their equipment, Ling Chen guessed that they were Gold City Guards from the Sunrise City. They were all LV-80 Lord grade bosses. With the 12 of them combined, they were even stronger than the LV-40 Celestial grade boss, Golden Feathered Eagle Emperor. After all, even though they were of a lower grade, their levels were much higher. The attacks of 12 LV-80 Lord grade bosses made even Ling Chen feel that it was a bit hard to breathe. In order to kill him, the Sunrise City had deployed their best forces. CRSSSH. The sharp arrows shot through the air, and Ling Chen was able to hear the sound of the air being torn. The sharpness of the sound surpassed anything Ling Chen had heard before. These 12 arrows flew in different directions, and blocked all of the escape routes available to him. Ling Chen's eyes slightly widened as the 12 golden arrows traveled towards him at extreme speeds. The arrows from Gold City Guards couldn't be compared to arrows shot by ordinary expert archers, no matter if it was the speed or range. However, a silver light flashed, and the arrows were all frozen by moon shadow. It was as if time had stopped. Ling Chen smirked and made a condescending gesture towards the Golden God archers below him, then activated Broken Shadow, and instantly disappeared from their vision. The captain of the team of Golden God archers took out his communication device and said in a low voice as his face darkened, "The ambush has failed. The target's powers are quite strange, and he will be even more difficult to deal with than expected. We'll leave it to you. His speed is incredibly fast, but it shouldn't be a problem for you. You don't need to hold back, do your best to search and destroy."